Lin Qin sighed. It was just a pity he didn't have anything clean left on him. The area around them was eerily quiet now. The distant roars of zombies had faded into a low murmur. Up ahead, the narrow path joined the main road. And everyone knew the chances of running into zombies were far higher on an open road than on a trail like this. Unconsciously, both Lin Qin and his companion quickened their pace. Suddenly, they noticed something on the stone pavement ahead. A long smear of blood, fresh and bright, snaking its way to a corner. There were scratch marks in the moist earth between the cracks of the stone, as if someone had desperately tried to hold on. No screams had been heard from the villa area today. Strange. This bamboo forest trail was secluded. The soil here was damp and shaded. That only made the drag marks even more visible. Lin Qin frowned. The blood was fresh. Could be a zombie. But without hearing any cries for help, it was hard to tell. Still, both of them tightened their grip on their weapons and moved forward with heightened caution. The blood trail abruptly ended, no body in sight. Odd, but not enough to stop them. Soon, they reached the main road. Lin Qin peered down the street, eyes settling on a villa entrance. Dozens of zombies, maybe 70 or 80, were clustered there. Thankfully, they hadn't noticed the two of them yet. Without hesitation, Lin Qin dashed down a side path, disappearing before the zombies could react. But that detour brought its own danger. Scattered zombies littered the street ahead, ones that didn't seem drawn by the earlier commotion, just mindlessly wandering. There was no other choice. If they wanted to go forward or back home, they'd have to clear the path. Nan Wei, trailing behind him, raised her bow and loosed 4 arrows in swift succession. Each shot landed perfectly, dropping the nearby zombies one by one. Lowering her bow with a small smirk, Nan Wei glanced at Lin Qin. Still, neither of them spoke. With the path cleared, Lin Qin took the lead again. They soon reached a fork in the road. It was quiet, no zombies in sight. Nan Wei broke the silence. Well, this is where I go. Name's Nan Wei. What about you? Maybe we'll meet again. Lin Qin paused, looking at her with a slight tilt of his head. He hadn't planned on speaking much, but after everything they'd been through, it felt necessary. He didn't fully trust her yet, but she wasn't useless either. Her archery was precise, her movements practiced. Still gripping his weapon, he replied, Lin Qin. Nan Wei blinked. Lin Qin, she repeated, as if the name sparked something. In that instant, a buried memory surfaced for Lin Qin. In his last life, while hiding in a trash room during a zombie ambush, someone named Nan Wei had rescued him. He hadn't seen her face back then, only heard her teammates calling her name. Could it be the same person? He let the thought go. No need to worry about running into me again, he said flatly. Nan Wei didn't argue. Relationships like this, forged in crisis, rarely lasted. Still, she offered a lopsided grin. All right, have it your way. But for the record, I'm not a bad person. They barely had time to finish the exchange when the sound of multiple car engines echoed from the street outside. Nan Wei's face paled. Which idiot is driving in the middle of a zombie outbreak? Haven't they watched the news? Lin Qin shared her frustration. The roar of engines would definitely attract nearby undead. And sure enough, the guttural cries of zombies rang out again. Louder this time, closer. Nan Wei scanned the area quickly, then grabbed Lin Qin's sleeve. This way. Hurry. She dragged him toward the nearest villa wall. Climb, she ordered, pushing him upward. Lin Qin hesitated for only a moment before scrambling up. Just 200 meters away was his own villa, but there wasn't time. Zombies would reach them in just over a minute, and it would take twice that to run the distance. He had no choice but to scale the wall and duck into the yard. Nan Wei followed silently. They crouched near the corner of the building, catching their breath. The horde swept past the street, snarling, oblivious to the 2 hidden figures. Then, just as they thought the danger had passed, the curtain on the second-floor window moved. A girl stood there, staring down at them in terror. Lin Qin recognized her, vaguely. He'd seen her before. Her father had been dragged away by zombies right in front of her. She had survived by staying completely silent, hidden in this villa. He was surprised. She had actually made it this far. But then, A large hand reached out from behind her and yanked her away, muffling her scream. Nan Wei's eyes widened. She bolted for the front door and kicked it open. Crashes echoed from inside. Lin Qin glanced outside. No zombies in immediate view. Then he stepped in. Inside, a man lay dead on the floor, blood pooling beneath him. Nan Wei stood nearby, breath heavy, knife in hand. The girl watched them both with wide, guarded eyes. Lin Qin didn't say anything. He wasn't a helpful type anymore, not after everything he'd been through. But Nan Wei's rash actions, she'd learned soon enough. He turned away, deciding not to interfere. The sound of more cars crashing outside broke the silence. Zombies would be drawn in again. Lin Qin quickened his pace. The road home was short, just 2 minutes. He ran, slipping through the front gate and locking it behind him. Then, boom, an explosion rocked the area. The ground trembled under his feet. Lin Qin crouched low, hands covering his head instinctively. Even here, within the walls of his home, there was no such thing as true. When the echo of the explosion finally faded, Lin Qin climbed up to the 3rd floor of his villa. He stood by the window, observing the situation outside. Down the street, a car had exploded, likely the same one that had caused the engine noise earlier. But nearby, 2 more cars remained in the chaos. From the tire marks on the pavement, it looked like they had tried to break through a zombie blockade and failed. One vehicle had slammed into a roadside shop, the front end crumpled. The other had flipped onto its roof, completely overturned by the horde. Lin Qin could see a person inside the overturned car frantically climbing into the back seat, trying to escape the zombies clawing through the shattered windshield. It was no use. The undead were already pouring in like a swarm of insects. The other car had fared slightly better. Its occupants had thrown open the doors and rolled out just in time, sprinting down the road with a cluster of zombies in pursuit. They soon vanished from Lin Qin's view. Both wrecked cars emitted thick green smoke, signs of possible secondary explosions. The number of zombies grew quickly as more were drawn to the noise, surrounding the cars and breaking through what was left of the windows. Gasoline leaked from under the hoods, mixing with the smoke and screams. Lin Qin watched silently through his telescope. The trail of fuel had begun connecting both wrecked vehicles. If one exploded again, it would set off a chain reaction. He lowered the telescope and quickly shut the steel window shutter. Sure enough, it wasn't long before another explosion ripped through the street. The blast shook the ground, the noise deafening. Lin Qin waited a moment, then cautiously reopened the window. The explosion had obliterated a group of zombies nearby. A crater now marred the road, and debris littered the area. Smoke billowed into the air as fire engulfed the remains of both cars. Chunks of burned flesh had been flung through the air, some even splattering against Lin Qin's anti-theft window bars. That was the price of living on a main street. You got a perfect view of everything, including the worst parts. Still, the sound of the explosion hadn't gone unnoticed. From various rooftops in the Villa district, survivors peeked out toward the smoke, trying to assess what had happened. Lin Qin's eyes scanned across the rooftops until he spotted Nan Wei on the neighboring building. She froze briefly when their eyes met, then gave a slight nod. It wasn't the time for small talk. The situation was still dangerous. While the 2 car explosions had killed many zombies, they had also drawn even more to the area. Lin Qin cursed inwardly. This was supposed to be a quiet, remote neighborhood. Yet thanks to those 2 fools who tried to drive out, it had now become a hot spot for the undead. Shaking his head, he backed away from the window and returned to the living room, collapsing onto the sofa. Earlier today, he'd spotted a lone zombie and considered going out to train and sharpen his skills. But now that opportunity had clearly passed. Still, the result wasn't all bad. He had avoided getting caught in the chaos. There were too many zombies outside now. No going out for the foreseeable future. If he wanted to keep training, he'd have to use the basement gym. For now, rest was more important. He stretched out on the sofa and closed his eyes. These last few days had been the most dangerous since the outbreak began. He needed to stay mentally sharp at all times. Nan Wei and that little girl were now staying next door. At least he could consider them acquaintances. Neither posed a threat. Still, He couldn't afford to completely let his guard down. There were likely more survivors hiding throughout the villa complex. He had to remain cautious. By 7 p.m., night had fallen. The solar-powered streetlights flickered to life on time, while the regular grid-powered ones remained dead. There had been a blackout earlier. No surprise there. Lin Qin drew the curtains aside and looked out again. The community was cloaked in darkness. None of the houses had lights on. A few flickering flames suggested candles, but most people had wisely closed their blackout curtains. Thanks to some solar-powered fixtures, a few paths along the tree-lined roads remained faintly illuminated. The city hadn't completely fallen into darkness, but it was quiet. Too quiet. Zombie activity always decreased at night. Unlike the chaos of daytime, only the occasional growl echoed in the distance. That was when Lin Qin noticed movement. A shadowy figure crept along the wall near the street corner, slinking toward a small supermarket across the road. He observed for a few moments, then closed the curtain and moved away. He didn't turn on any lights. Instead, he used the flashlight function on his phone to navigate down to the basement. After locking the hidden entrance behind him, he flipped on the basement lights, powered by the solar array installed in the yard. The basement had become his sanctuary. Powered independently, it held enough supplies and energy for him alone. He switched off the flashlight and walked to the sofa. The room was comfortably set up with a bed, furniture, and essentials. Even if the entire villa above went dark, he'd still have somewhere safe to sleep. Lin Qin pulled out a family-sized bucket of chicken from storage. As usual, he duplicated it with his ability and returned one portion to storage before settling down. As he scrolled through his phone, a message came in from Zhang Jian. He took a bite of chicken and opened the message. Zhang Jian. Still alive, huh? Crazy day. Power's officially out. Good thing I charged all my batteries. Zhang Jian. By the way, most people in my building ran out today. The zombies in our complex aren't too bad. Still, I don't dare go beyond the...
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Zhang Huan, how are you? How are you recently? Have you eaten it? Lin Qin bit his chicken leg and replied to the word. I don't worry, you must eat it. And the current situation is very uncontrollable. When a rescue comes back, you should follow the rescue to go to the refuge. The food he left could not support for long. It is better to wait until the rescue is to follow the rescue personnel to go to the shelter. Don't worry, I will stay in the room honestly recently, right? You have to be careful there. After the two people hurriedly talked, they were busy. Lin Qin turned on the TV in front of him and watched the downloaded content before the TV. While drinking the ice cola in the family's bucket, he ate the chicken leg wings inside. The night arrived as scheduled, surrounding the quietness. There is no noise in the past. After eating, Lin Qin had piled up all the bones in the whole family. Take the tissue on the side to wipe your fingers and then go back to the TV. The extreme challenge is placed on the TV. Compared with the early seasons, the next few seasons are a bit boring. But it is okay to take a look at a joy to pass the time. After watching for a while, Lin Qin closed the TV back to bed and slept. After a day of tiredness, I should take a good rest. More things to do tomorrow. Lin Qin was sleeping well that night. Early the next morning, Lin Qin woke up hazy. Belling and yawning, daily washing is finished. Lin Qin opened the electric pot and boiled a meal of dumplings. After eating and drinking, click on the system to view the supplies in the storage space. He copied a lot of materials, and he was thrown directly into the space before, and it was messy. Right now, Lin Qin looked at it. Things are all one. For the past few days, a copy of Lin Qin will copy it. But in this case, there will always be a time to forget. After all, his memory is also bad. After thinking about it, Lin Qin still planned to regulate it. There are hundreds of things in the storage space, and there are hundreds of pieces of replication one by one. He first took out some important foods and water. 1 copy into 2. 2 copy into 4. 4 for copy into 8. In order to push, such a replication speed is actually fast. After all, it can be copied 7 times, and there can be 128 copies. The point is that there are many types and miscellaneous. After the food and water are replicated, it consumes almost an hour. Lin Qin also copied some daily necessities, which took almost an hour. As for the seeds of grains, Lin Qin is not planning to copy. The existing quantity Lin Qin will not touch the time. When the copy is almost the same, the time has reached noon. Lin Qin touched his belly, but he was not very hungry. He was full of meals in the morning. I simply walked into the refrigerator and hugged the previous refrigerated watermelon, one divided into two. Sitting in the living room, separated from the basement, Lin Qin ate watermelon, and suddenly the alarm shook. Lin Qin immediately looked at the monitoring display. By the wall outside the house, the two men sneakily hid around the edge of the Lin Qin villa fence and looked around. From time to time, look up at the high wall and the front door. From the perspective of monitoring, they are not clean. Some tattered clothes plus blood stains, and they also held lethal weapons in their hands. It looks like a person who is inaccessible. They looked around and carefully crouched the wall after Lin Qin's transformation. A short distance between the greening of the flower bed and the wall can also hide his body. I didn't see it. The man walking at the forefront moved forward twice, and then stretched out his hand to drag Lin Qin's door tentatively. The door is not moving, and it is obviously locked. He groped all the way up and looked inward at the small hole in the door of the iron gate. The place in the front yard is very small, and the big yard is basically behind. But even so, the yard is still empty and nothing. However, the house inside, the windows on the first to third floor were nailed to the anti-theft window. Especially in the anti-theft window, there seems to be iron leather windows. This is obviously prepared in advance, no matter what the situation is. Anyway, this family is really as weird as the property said. He squatted down slowly and turned back to his accompanying. This household is really weird, but I did not expect to be cheap. The zombies were before they raised. Isn't it weird to decorate like Lin Qin? People who don't know if they think they're specially used to install boxes. After Wang Yang finished speaking, he raised his head again to look up. The fence is raised. The brick is also a normal brick, but it is another layer of wire, like net. Wrap into a circle, there's also a pouring thorns on it. Grid. This stuff does not look like it is suddenly here, but it seems to prevent someone from suddenly climbing the wall. And at this height, it is not easy to climb alone. Fortunately, they are two people. Just when Wang Yang looked at the height, the man behind him pushed his companion. You reading a book, www.you.net. What are you randomly? This wall can be climbed. Don't ink. Hurry up. Wang Yang turned back. I know, this did not think of what the property group said before, but I didn't expect it to be really. Do you say that this person will predict in advance? But during the day, it's not safe, shouldn't we, Knight? Li Chan skimmed his mouth. Do you think it must be safe at night? Not to mention that we are all here. You can't waste it. And what do you care about his house? This is just right. It must be safe. Anyway, Lin Qin is alone. At that time, you're responsible for holding him down. I am responsible for him. Wang Yang nodded. What you said makes sense. Let's talk about it. Should the power grid above should be fine. The grid was laid on the wall, and Wang Yang was a little uncertain. Li Chun laughed and scolded. This is the next day. Where's the electricity? Hurry up. I will entrust you. Wang Yang knew back, right? Now the power is disconnected, and even the power grid cannot be connected. The two looked around, and then began to take the ladder to hold Wang Yang. Seeing this scene, Lin Qin couldn't help taking a deep breath. His house is well known in the community due to the problems of the property before. It is estimated that it has long been stared at. If it wasn't for the two cars yesterday, the zombies in the villa would not be wandering on the streets outside. These two people will not appear directly outside Lin Qin's villa. Lin Qin dug a spoonful of watermelon, which was cool and delicious. As for the two people outside, Lin snapped. There are any heavy objects falling from the wall and falling on the edge of the corner. Lin Qin swallowed a watermelon and looked up at monitoring. Two people climbed up the wall and twitched directly to the ground because of electric shock. As for life and death, Lin Qin didn't know. However, the zombies near the villa area did not see a few. Most of them wander on the street. These two people don't know if they are lucky or unfortunate. They can only say that they have taken away shit. At least the corpse still maintains the original appearance. Lin Qin glanced at the monitoring on the other side. Zombies are doing nothing on the street and walking around. After one night, the swing of zombies was extremely large. Basically, I had gone to another street. Roughly speaking, the streets in front of the villa have only about a dozen zombies. Several survivors who went out to find food were chased by zombies and ran around. From the monitoring, the screams that came from time to time can be seen. It also gradually disappeared within the scope of Lin Qin's monitoring. Also, you are starving to find food to choose from starving. They only choose to go out to find food. Lin Qin lowered his head and dug a watermelon again. Seeing the security pavilion at the gate of the community, a man appeared. Not far behind him, there were two men and a woman. The man waved his hand, and the people in the rear also ran to the back of the security pavilion quickly, watching the wandering of several zombies in the distance nervously. Lao Chen, what should I do? The supermarket is opposite. If you want to solve the zombies over there in the past. These zombies did not know what mentality it was, and they were surrounded by supermarkets. They want to be unsafe in the past. After all, there are no more lethal weapons in their hands. Although the kitchen knife looks pretty good, is also a relatively common weapon. It is for zombies. They need to be in close contact. Once they are approaching, they are not that they can control it. Therefore, don't underestimate the number of zombies, but it is extremely lethal. Chun Jin squatted behind the security pavilion for thinking, and then said, "Push her out." "Who?" Wang Yao stunned and did not respond for a while. Chun Jin turned back and looked at the only woman in the team. Women's hands are tied, but there is no good place up and down. On the face, scars are everywhere on the exposed arms. Even the clothes on your body were broken. The black tape is stuck on the mouth, and if you want to speak, you can't make any sound. Hearing Chun Jin's words, she shook her head to resist, but helplessly could only be dragged in front of Chun Jin. Chun Jin glanced at the woman with his head, and then took out his dagger and arrived at her jaw. "Run forward from here, don't look back." The woman shook her head to resist, but Chun Jin didn't care. The dagger was slightly strong, and a slight wound was drawn directly on her neck. The woman was in pain, and she looked at Chun Jin with tears and dared not resist. Seeing this, Chun Jin sneered directly. "If you don't go, I will kill you now. Go. Maybe you can still live. This is also your only chance." Indeed, if she is fast enough and smart enough, she can get rid of the zombies chased behind her. Maybe there's really a chance to live and get rid of this group of people now, and live well. She nodded, only obedient. The rope on the wrist was unlocked, and Chun Jin stared at her. There is no way a woman stands tremblingly. Under their eyes, rushed out. The zombies wandering at the door of the supermarket instantly were irritable. One or two competes for a woman. Without a moment, the zombies were all attracted by girls. The zombies on the street have all disappeared. Several people waited for a while to make sure that there was no zombie and immediately rushed out. Go straight to the supermarket. The door of the supermarket is transparent tempered glass, and the door is locked. But at this time, several people couldn't take care of these and directly hit the glass and rushed into the supermarket. In the past few days, they did not eat the food in the supermarket. This kind of movement has attracted many people along the street. After a while, many people came out, one by one like robbers. Get the food and water in the supermarket. Someone held a knife, someone held the bench, broke the doors and windows of others, slipped in and stuffed one after another. Those who can pretend to be full. For a time, the street was extremely chaotic. The zombies that disappeared on the street gradually returned. The sound here is too loud. After a while, some people discovered the zombie figure. Smart people returned to their room directly, and some greedy people only wanted to get more supplies. With such a hole, some people fought against the zombies with their weapons. On the street, the screams sounded. The zombie is extremely powerful, and some people underestimate the lethality of the zombies. Bite directly by the zombies and bite. Some killed it directly on the spot. Some people died, and some people turned into zombies. The tense atmosphere on the street swept again. Some people who have not snatched food have stared at people who grabbed food. When everyone was escaping and avoided, UU Redbooks www.okanshu.net took advantage of the fire. But people facing danger, the instinct to survive will still solve the zombies or those who threaten themselves. Lin Qin looked at the chaotic street and lamented while eating watermelon. Fortunately, you don't have to look for food everywhere like these people. However, in the monitoring, Lin Qin found an acquaintance, Nan Wei and the little girl in the villa next door. They entered a supermarket, and both were carrying a school bag. The stuff came out. Nan Wei is still attentive. Dropped the little girl's hand along the way, avoiding it in the chaotic crowd. But the two women were carrying 2 big bags of things, and they were soon stared at. Lin Qin was interested to mobilize the monitoring and view Nan Wei's travel route. This woman is still vigilant, and she has long noticed the 2 men who follow behind to the house without returning to the villa area directly. Instead, the girl was pulling a little bit farther. If people discover their lives, the group may be the same as the bad guys who broke into her house. Nan Wei first pulled the girl to walk on the road quickly among the chaotic crowds, and the zombies on the face of the police were wearing police clothes. Nan Wei's eyes were bright. The zombies were also wearing bulletproof jackets, and the waist was tied with a police belt exclusively, and there was a pistol. This is simply a weapon from God to the door. Of course, it is not only Nan Wei who is not alone on this police zombie. After all, there are many good things on the police. A bulletproof coat alone. What's more, a pistol that is unique to its waist. Nan Wei explained the other party and said specifically what Lin Qin could not hear. You can only see 2 people walk separately from the monitor. But looking at the route, this forest garden ran back to the villa area directly. It is just that the crowd has the addition of zombies. The chaotic crowd hit each other. The older woman next door pushed her directly to the nearest zombie in order to avoid the zombies. But a stumbling, Lin Garden was hit directly on the ground. The long nails scraped the arm of the forest garden. But she had no time to take care of, and hurriedly got up from the ground and left here. Behind their team seeing the materials gathered on Lin Yuan Garden, immediately changed the goal and followed her to the villa area. And Nan Wei. The zombies in front of them rushed towards the crowd, biting around the man's neck and tearing off a large piece of flesh. The chaotic crowds were screaming and fled, mixed with various zombies. In the distance, a big man also quickly walked towards the zombie police. Nan Wei took a deep breath, stretched out his hand to pull out the dagger on his leg, and directly faced with the zombies. She needed to solve the zombie before the Great Han came. The knife pointed at the eyes of the zombies and stabbed in and twisted. At the same time, removed the gun on the waist of the zombie. A switch, Nan Wei pulled the firebolic bolt of the gun, and the back of the zombie was a shot. After solving the zombies, Nan Wei, who got the weapon, turned around. The hand had already come in front of him, and the kitchen knife in his hand cut directly at Nan Wei. Nan Wei retreated and pulled down the insurance bolt at the Dahan's direct headshot. And at this time, in front of Lin Qin's door, there was a hurry. Lin Yuan stood trembling in front of Lin Qin's door and shouted, "Brother, you save me. Elder brother." She shouted one after another. The tension and fear of your face. Sister Nan Wei said that she asked her to find her brother next door. But is my brother at home? She already shouted so loudly. Why did the door still open? The footsteps behind them became louder, and 2 men appeared in a while. Lin Yuan hugged the 2 parcels in his arms and looked at the 2 people behind him nervously. I warn you, don't mess around. Both men have a big machete in their hands and burley in their hands. Isn't it easy to deal with a 19-year-old girl? He stepped forward quickly, ignoring the fruit knife in Lin Yuan's hand, and dragging a package with one person, pulling hard. Lin Yuan couldn't twist 2 adult men at all. After each of the slightly low, the one who was slightly lowered took away a package and left here. The men with a slightly higher point have been abolished. He was taken away a school bag, and the remaining in his arms. Lin Yuan was deadly. This thing was hard to find with Sister Nan Wei. If these 2 packages are not available, they will not be able to survive the next. Will die. Among them, The slightly taller men kicked the abdomen of the forest garden, scolding in their mouths. Damn, my young strength is quite strong. Is it what you should take in this bag? Lin Yuan was kicked and fell backwards. The stomach turns into the sea. She was a little dizzy for a few days. Can't care about the zombies in the villa area. She climbed forward again and grabbed the strap of her school bag. Sister Nanwei may not come back, but she must stay. The man twisted his brows and became angry. The machete in his hand waved directly to Lin Yuan Garden. Damn, the zombies behind her have entered the villa area, and the woman dragged it down. He is about to be the words of the zombies. However, Lin Yuan Garden is one step faster than him. The dagger in his hand was inserted directly on the man's thigh, and at the same time, he opened his mouth and bit it fiercely. The taste of flesh and blood is particularly wonderful in the mouth. Lin Yuan is a bit greedy. The man had painful, and the swing swarm directly cut the back of the forest garden and shoulders. But the power is much smaller. In the panic, seeing the zombies getting closer and closer, the man kicked Lin Yuan into the corpse, and then dragged his backpack and ran in another direction. Cold face coldness. Lin Yuan was wounded, and the zombies rushed directly to her, opened the blood of the blood. She wanted to run, but her pain and her body's reaction prompted her to look at the corpse group. It's over, I'm going to die. Boom! A few guns sounded, and the zombies from her fell one by one. A figure then appeared. He was wearing a police uniform and holding a gun in his hand. After solving the zombies, the breathing of Lin Garden's screen was loosened. The body seemed to be able to control it suddenly, paralyzing on the ground. The police glanced at her and found that the wound on her body was not small. It is definitely impossible to take her away. Such a wound is a living target. Moreover, there is no medicine and no cure. Hesitating again and again, he found the whole body in Lin Yuan Garden. There is nothing valuable to confirm, so I left here. Lin Yuan raised his hand and fell down again. She was so painful. She turned around and looked at Lin Qin's door climbing. You reading books, www.okanshu.net fainted. In the monitoring, there was no movement outside, and Lin Qin came out slowly. It's not his heart. It is now the end, and he loves the wounds on Lin Yuan Garden. And this wound is not the other wound. Maybe she didn't notice herself. What's more, they are neither familiar, nor have they received the help of others. So far, the position of the corner is still lying on the corpse. As soon as the big iron gate opened, Lin Yuan appeared in front of Lin Qin's eyes. The wound on her body has no medicine. It is easy to attract zombies and infection. Lin Qin didn't look at it and went directly to the outside. There are not many zombies in the villa, most of which are still on the chaotic streets. But after such a noisy, living people on the streets are getting a lot less. Only zombies left around. Lin Qin looked around and then dragged the two corpses hidden between the flower bed and the gaps in the corner. Hidden in the corner of the corner, even if it is a zombie, it is difficult to find the food. Especially now, this kind of high-temperature weather will smell bad in a few days. Lin Qin had smelled the smell of corpse, mixed with the rotten smell of zombies. Even if he was used to it, he didn't want his house to be filled with this unpleasant taste around him. Dragged the body to the door, Lin Qin returned to the room. In front of the door, Lin Qin's trousers were dragged by Lin Yuan. Lin Qin moved his legs and feet, but Lin Yuan was too tight. Can't get it all. He paused and looked at the forest garden at his feet. You can't. He has medicine, but does not treat cutting injuries, nor does he treat zombie virus. The wound on the shoulder has exposed the bones. Even if she was not caught by the zombies, this wound was not he could cure. The most fatal is the wound on her ankle. It was the scratch of zombies. In the chaotic crowd outside, the zombies from the fall of Lin Yuan Garden, although they avoided rushing. But another zombie grabbed her ankle. I only thought of leaving Lin Garden without noticing it all. But Lin Qin found it from the monitoring long ago. Lin Yuan pointed his abdomen and gradually let go of his hand. Lin Qin returned to the villa directly and said nothing. Like Lin Yuan, he had seen too much before, but he didn't know why. He was still a little uncomfortable. Lin Qin turned around and turned on the phone. in the WeChat message list. The latest liaison is Zhang Jian. Lin Qin took the initiative to send a message. Lin Qin, how is it recently? Is it okay? After a while, Zhang Jian sent a message. Zhang Jian, pretty good. Nourish every day. Lin Qin, moisturizing? This adjective seems to be a bit ambitious. Can't go out to hide a home. Why not moisturize? Lin Qin was a little puzzled. Zhang Jian continued to send message. Zhang Jian, I forgot to tell you that I saved a woman in our building. Now we are living together, and the days are quite beautiful. Lin Qin raised an eyebrow. Female? Zhang Jian. Yes, the woman was scared by the zombies, and no one opened the door, so I saved her. Zhang Jian. I am not bored for 2 days. Lin Qin took the corner of his mouth. It is not difficult to guess. It is a few meanings. Lin Qin turned his body and was interested. Lin Qin. How are people look beautiful? Lin Qin. You are willing to start. It is estimated that it is pretty good. Zhang Jian. That's not necessary. Let me show you what it looks like. The key is that I fits the two. Zhang Jian. By the way, the same is true. In case you encounter beautiful eyebrows, take the initiative. I don't have time to contact women when I do technology, so I have to have time now, right? Zhang Jian. Don't puzzle the style. The little sister outside grabs a lot, and you need to be comfortable with your warm chest. Zhang Huan. Emoticon. Lin Qin. Zhang Huan. Okay, look at my horse, it's not bad. After a while, Lin Qin received a photo from Zhang Jian. The girl's appearance is very beautiful and hot. The most important thing is that compared with a few days ago, Zhang Jian's status is much better. Lin Qin smiled, hurriedly finished the topic, and closed the phone. Lying at home, watching the ceiling above his head fell into thought. Maybe he can also try to enjoy life. After all, material and weapon safety house. He has all. Several women seem to be too much, right? Could it be the same as before? A nervous life, lonely and hopeless, very depressed. Is this life again? Just thinking about it, Lin Qin felt a little suffocating. No, he is not the same as before. He has this capital. But even so, Lin Qin poured a pot of cold water. Lin Qin, don't blame me without reminding you. Be careful to fire your upper body someday. After all, there are many cases that lead the wolf into the room. Zhang Jian doesn't matter. When can you live? You may not necessarily enjoy it in time and make a day to earn more days. Zhang Huan, don't make it so anxious, just look at it. Zhang Huan, if the final result still transforms into a zombie, is it better to live happily now? Anyway, the results are the same. Lin Qin sighed. While he just wants to live, he can enjoy life. The screams outside continued, and various mixed sounds were hustle and bustle outside. But most of them are zombies. People living here are not as many as people in the urban area. After laying for a while, Lin Qin got up and came to the kitchen. Sweet and sour pork ribs and braised chicken were eaten in the store before. When Lin Qin copied the dishes were hot, and when they were taken out, they still retained the taste of just out of the pan. But when he came to the kitchen, Lin Qin took a can in the refrigerator. A bite of rice is satisfied. You know, the screams outside. But no one can sit here with peace of mind like him, eating so much delicious. After eating, Lin Qin took a rest for a while. The monitoring continues. On the entire street, there is no trace of other survivors. The corpse on the street is mixed. Lin Qin waited until 3 p.m. and confirmed that there was no zombie on the street, and got up to clean up. It is said that there is nothing to get. I just put a school bag with a look. With a good backpack, Lin Qin got up. Today, he won't go elsewhere. He is going to the 2 doors of the villa. Close the original big iron door. Slowly clear the zombies in the entire villa area. In this way, at least the villa area is safe. In monitoring, they're empty everywhere. The zombies were missing. Lin Qin went out with a school bag. The 3 corpses at the door were no longer traced at this time, but looked at the bloodstains on the ground. It is not difficult to guess what happened. Lin Qin intends to go to the closest door. Yu reading book www.yuukangshu.net. There was a gathering place when the zombies broke out this morning. Facing the door, there should be a lot of zombies. However, this piece, there are 2 communities in total, No matter how many zombies, there should not be too much. Opposite the road is a Lanxiang Lake Park. Before the end, it should be loved by the rich in this villa area. But now, it has become the best venue for hiding zombies. As long as it is not alarmed and does not make too much sound, there will be no big problems. Be careful along the way. Lin Qin came near the gate. Going forward, he didn't dare to approach too much. The position of the security pavilion was standing with 3 zombies. Looking at the degree of rotten face, it should be the product left over when the zombies broke out when they snatched the supplies. It has not been completely rotten, and the epidermis is still normal human skin. It was just a trace of the bite of the zombies on it. Lin Qin opened his storage space and looked around in it. If you want to not alarm the zombies, the guns he copied in the shooting hall must not work. After all, the gunfire was huge, and he just wanted to close the door. I see Ant makes such a great movement. The storage space is actually quite comprehensive, and then take out the bow and arrow in the storage space. Bow and arrow taobao can be purchased, but they are professional shooting bows and arrows. At first, I found that you can buy a few different styles directly, but the original arrows are equipped with special arrows. There is no lethality at all. If you want to use it to deal with the zombies, the arrows must be Lin Qin turned around. Before he had bought a few separate arrows on a certain Tauda. What willow leaves, triangles, armor breaking. These can be installed on a professional practice arrow, and it will not make any sound. Lin Qin only needs to aim at the zombies in the distance. Installation of the arrow. Lin Qin began to learn Anwei's bow. Practice the arrow flying out. But his accurate head is not as good as Nanwei. I didn't fly to the zombie at all. Lin Qin pulled up the second bow and arrow again. With a bang, he flew directly to the wandering security pavilion of the zombies. With a sound, it fell again. A few zombies were shocked, but it returned to normal again. Lin Jintan paused, a little annoyed. Nanwei didn't seem to be so difficult to use bows and arrows before. Why do you get to yourself? The quasi head is just like this. Lin Qin leaned his mouth, then moved forward and pulled the bow and arrow again. This time, he learned the previous 2 experiences. Pull the bow string back and adjust the angle of the arrow at the same time. This time, he must be, although I haven't played it, I have played an Angry Bird, said the parabola. However, this time the bow and arrow sight were aimed at. But zombies are not entering the house. They have been moving. Obviously, this exercise arrow is still invalid. Lin Qin sighed, but at present, he felt the feel of the bow and arrow. He adjusted his posture and continued to aim. For the 4th time, Lin Qin succeeded. The arrows were inserted into the eyeballs of the zombies steadily and penetrated the brain. It can be said that it was killed in one shot. Lin Qin aimed at the second zombie. The second zombie was walking around. Even if a companion died, it seemed to have not found it and continued to swim. Lin Qin Luo aimed at the direction of the zombie's movement. Finally, take a look. The second zombie was shot, but the zombies did not die directly. Lin Qin's arrow just hit his abdomen. Put out. A lot of flesh came out. Lin Qin paused, silently took out one, and continued to aim. Just practice it. However, at present, the frequency of using bows and arrows in the future is much higher than pistols. After all, this stuff is quiet and silent, a good weapon to assassinate. 3 zombies. Lin Qin wasted 10 practice arrows before and after. Fortunately, the result is good. The 3 zombies wandering in the security pavilion were resolved by Lin Qin. I squatted in place for a while, and Lin Qin got up and walked over. In the middle of the gate of the villa area, the ups and downs of the left and right railings cannot be used for a long time. When Lin Qin walked close, he found out. The zombies wandered because of the edge of the security pavilion, lying on the body of a zombie. From the perspective of the traces of flesh and blood by the whole body, the 3 zombies who had just wandered now were greedy, and they stayed to eat the corpse. There are also blood stabs on their mouths. It should be a state of free swimming around. Lin Qin looked at the street outside. The streets are sloppy, extremely depressed, and did not attract other zombies because of their own movements. Looking at the strange zombies with 2 eyes, Lin Qin walked directly to the outermost door to pull out the door that could be pushed out throughout the year. The big iron door is very high and strong. Lin Qin's movement kept fast. The big iron gate that had not been opened all year round made a harsh sound because of his movements, but Lin Qin did not stop, but accelerated the speed in his hand. The zombies in Lanxiang Lake Park heard that the sound began to be restless. On the occasion, Lin Qin finally buckled the door together. The iron chain tied up, Lin Qin looked at the zombies rushing over, shook the big iron gate, seemed a little mania. Lin Qin looked at it. The zombies outside are wearing various clothes, and there are many other equipment on their bodies. For example, some zombies carry backpacks, Cortex food crossbody bags, and some with hats. Some of them are big names, the keys of a luxury car on the waist, and the box of a dealer. There should be a lot of food in it, but this should not be eaten for a long time. The sharp nails grab the iron gate to make a weird sound. Don't say that if there are no food, you can kill these zombies first, and you can get a lot of material from their bodies. At least look roughly. In these zombies, those who just changed today, there are many useful backpacks behind them. But they're the only two supermarkets robbed of various materials here. But his primary task is not to grab these zombies. Make sure that the zombies will not flatten the big iron door. Lin Qin turned into the villa again. He now needs to hurry up to the entrance and exit of another direction and close the door, to ensure that a zombie will not flow into the entire villa area. In this way, the zombies in the villa area were empty and set out a relatively safe position. As for everyone else in the villa area, whether you can go out or not, it will not matter whether it is Lin Qin. Of course, it is not difficult to climb the gates of the surrounding walls in the villa area. Not too high. The villa area is not small. Yu reading www.yuukangshu.net. Lin Qin will take a while from east to west. On the tree-lined trails in the entire villa area, there are basically traces of zombies in every place. Lin Qin Guangming walked on the road, and several scattered zombies he met were directly practiced. He is still unable to control the accuracy of his bow and arrow, but he firmly believes that as long as he practices diligently, it is just a matter of time. After all, he did not have so many weapons. It is already good to protect yourself. Of course, he failed to persist when he had a lot of weapons. Lin Qin slowly approached the resolved zombies. The male zombie has a lady's backpack. I don't know if the last chasing is a female survivor. As for how Lin Qin hangs up, I don't know. I am very interested. Is there anything good in it? Holding to practice the arrow, Lin Qin jumped the zombie's oblique bag. The hub chain is opened, revealing the two red Mao inside, and other pocket money, and a pack of paper towels and a bus card. In addition, no other. Lin Qin paused. If this is in the past, he will pick up these two red Mao. And now, even if you pick it up, it is useless. Lin Qin walked directly from the zombie. Continue to the gate of the west. Today's weather is very hot, and the sun above the head is extremely hot. After walking for such a small time, Lin Qin was already a little uncomfortable. Walking on the trail under the shade, it will be better. But there was a swaying sound of weeds in their ears. Lin Qin lived, listening to the direction of the sound. Eventually locked behind the green belt on the side of the cement pavement. Lin Qin condensed his eyebrows, and the things hidden behind finally showed their true colors. It's alone. She was hiding behind the green. Greening is a bit like a plant built into a ball, like plant on the road, which is quite large. There are a lot of side-by-side. The girl hiding in it was perfectly blocked her body. If it wasn't for the shaking too much, Lin Qin would not find her. Looking left and right, quiet. There is no survivor or a zombie. I thought it should be scared by some of the zombies who just wandered there. Otherwise, you will not hide in such a place. You see what a little girl looks like a little girl? And they are shaking into a sieve. Even if you squat, you can see that the girl's body is petite. From time to time in the air, the perfume atmosphere comes from time to time, and Zhang Jian has a woman in her arms when Xiang is neat. Lin Qin's hormones burst into an instant. Can't help but feel pity. Beauty, no zombies, hurry home. However, girls ignore Lin Qin at all, still shaking. Lin Qin was ignored and was a little embarrassed. He stepped forward and stretched out his hand on the shoulders of the beautiful woman in an attempt to appease each other. The other party did not resist, and Lin Qin couldn't help but be happy. When she was squatting down and soothing, the beauty turned her head suddenly. A lot of flesh and blood around the mouth, grabbing a piece of meat that was torn off without knowing where to tear from both hands. The taste of eating is delicious. Lin Qin held his breath sharply, but felt the bad stink. Seeing Lin Qin, she even looked at her eyes and wanted to rush over. Lin Qin twisted his cheeks and hit the face of the beauty zombie. Except for that mouth, everything else is intact. Lin Qin even felt that the scrubbing was still a beautiful eyebrow zombie. Could be used. After a circle, the zombies remained motionless, as if the hungry wolf fluttered. Press Lin Qin directly on the ground. Lin Qin, surprisingly, the strength of zombies is not small, even if it's just a girl. Lin Qin was overwhelmed by her for a while. It opened its mouth, and the sound of the bite was particularly loud. Lin Qin is close, and he can even see the fragmented meat stuffed in the gaps of the teeth. The nauseous, sticky liquid at the corner of the mouth is about to drip. It seems that the next time you have to bring goggles in advance. You should know that if you eat this kind of thing or splash in your eyes, there will be some problems. Lin Qin stretched out his pedal on the abdomen of the zombie and then kicked hard. The zombie was successfully kicked out by Lin Qin. After all, zombies are only strong, and their weight is still the same. Lin Qin was able to fly it. Thanks to her petite figure, she was not high. If it is a big fat man with hundreds of pounds, it is really weak. Lin Qin finally got up from the ground. The first reaction was to push the bow and arrow that fell on the side of the body twice. In the zombie, Lin Qin took out the fire axe and chopped the zombie. Until the zombie couldn't afford to fall straight, Lin Qin exhaled. The zombies were deadlier, and the red blood was mixed up with the wounds on the brain. A good face appeared in front of Lin Qin. It's just covered with black lines. It's really not that he is puzzled, but you see where he encountered. Lin Qin sighed. After solving this zombie, I met what to hide in the grass on the road and look at the normal humans. Lin Qin planned to ask, is he or not? And he would think that Zhang Jian's approach could also be herself. The next journey was very smooth, and the zombies I met were not so dense. Basically, 2 or 3 are scattered, which is easy to solve and can practice. In addition, it has almost killed a dozen zombies. But it is a lot of practice arrows. There is no harm. Anyway, he can copy infinitely, and the storage space is stacked everywhere. Soon, Lin Qin came to the garbage station. This is where he had killed the first zombie before. It was also where he knew Nan Wei's first woman. However, over time, the zombie body lying on the ground has completely rotted into a pool of rotten water, exuding an unpleasant smell. Fly buzzing. Lin Qin deliberately rapped away, so as to avoid these flies defiled themselves. The bodies of the 2 men who had shot and killed before were no longer trapped. But Lin Qin was not surprised. It took not long to go through the garbage room. Lin Qin found that the door of the villa yard opened a gap. The door handle under the gate was also lying on a man's body. Blood stains have spread, and it has long been unable to return to heaven. It seems quite peaceful when I die. However, there are no signs of fighting on the ground, nor showing signs of zombies. It's a bit strange to die. It is estimated that it is starved to death. Lin Qin glanced twice and continued to rush. The door on the west is not like the east gate. He is closer to other communities. People here are actually more than those near Lanxiang Lake Gate. After all, there is a small park in the walk. Yu reads a book www.yuyukangshu.net. There are 2 supermarkets selling products. In the morning, the movements in the morning are so large. In fact, the Simon should be more chaotic and greater. However, in addition to the unique houses in the villa area, the location is large, and the others are not comparable to the community. After all, there are many stores around the community. If you really want to fight for food, there is the earliest batch over there. Lin Qin walked slowly, the more he was closer to Shimen. After all, there are more communities in the gate. But the surroundings are very quiet, All kinds of things are stacked on the road, and there are scattered newspapers swaying with the wind. Lin Qin stood beside the door and looked out. The gate of major shops on the roadside was destroyed, and the only gate was scattered with various plastic bags, and they were stepped on. Don't look at it in the past. It has been snatched out. However, the street depression is a good time to close the door. It is much easier than he imagined. Anyway, there are still a few zombies and dongmen, and there is nothing to be empty here. Lin Qin shook his head, and then he would find the door. The door here is different from the dongmen. The east gate is a large iron gate pushing and pulling from left to right. And here is the door of the court style. Iron, it looks very textured. Lin Qin looked around and then walked around the edge of the gate to close the big iron door. This gate will not be closed all year round, and it will be a little loud at first. Squeak. Lin Qin just moved a little, and there was a lot of sound. But it is much bigger than he expected. He looked at the connection at the door side. A little rusty has been born above. Without waiting for Lin Qin's movement, the other side of the streets had a motion of movement. Lin Qin had a meal and then watched it. But he didn't see anything. Looking at the streets outside, several zombies were attracted to the sound. I don't know which corner I ran out of the horn. However, he didn't find himself, and Lin Qin didn't care. If you continue to close the door, the sound of the sound will inevitably attract them. Lin Qin had to give up. Forget it. It seems that this door cannot be turned on today. Lin Qin turned around and planned to return to the villa at the garbage station for a while. After all, the weather was hot outside, and he had been sweating for a while. If you stand under the sun and wait for the corpse group to dissipate, it will be hot. Lin Qin paused and got up and returned. The villa not far from the garbage station was opened in the yard, and Lin Qin across the body. As he thought, the door of the house was opened. It does not take the power at all, but the room was somewhat dirty. It seemed to be ransacked. However, the room is a little better than the outside, covering the hot sun and not so sunny. But the air is still very hot. As soon as Lin Qin was about to sit down and rest, he heard the fine sound from the yard behind him. Looking around, Lin Qin hid in the kitchen subconsciously and squatted down. The sound of footsteps graduated, and the people outside the house closed the door in the yard and then entered the villa. The long shadow was stretched by the sun outside the house and mapped it on the tiles in front of the kitchen hidden in Lin Qin. Then, footsteps are getting closer and closer, and he has been hovering at the door. Lin Qin was not sure whether it was a zombie or a man. Although he did not smell the bad smell, he could not mean that it was not a zombie. The close-up attack was the best choice. Lin Qin clenched the fire axe and intends to give a blow. Suddenly, the uncertainty at the door moved. The figure on the ground is getting closer and closer. Even his footsteps rushed towards Lin Qin's kitchen. Not good, it's a zombie. Lin Qin immediately got up and waved the fire axe in his hand. The other party looked at Lin Qin, scared to hold his breath, closed his eyes, and waved the steel pipe in his hand randomly. Lin Qin couldn't and could only pull the distance back to avoid being beaten by her. After a while, Xiao Xue found that the person in front of her did not attack her. She squeezed her eyes and looked carefully. Lin Qin's handsome face appeared in the field of vision. While relieved, she was surprised. "Mr. Lin, it's you." Lin Qin was surprised. He looked at his face and froze. Isn't this the female agent who introduced him to the house? Discovering an acquaintance, Xiao Xue pant looked around. After discovering that there was no abnormality, he apologized. She said softly, "I'm sorry, I thought you were. I didn't scare you just now. I looked at the door of the yard outside, and I came in directly. Here is quiet again. I thought there would be zombies, so I just—" She didn't say anything later, but the two were almost unhappy. However, Lin Qin looked at Xiao Xue's chest subconsciously. He still remembers the day of the intermediary company. Xiao Xue, who is generally thick and casual clothes, looks more ordinary, covering all her perfect figure. However, short, sleeve trouser sneakers are the most likely to escape in the last days. Is this clothes that wrap all her figure, comparison with the day a pity? Lin Qin took back his thoughts and silently collected the fire axe back. Two people came to the living room. The sofa was chaotic, Xiao Xue sat a little crashing, and he peeked at Lin Qin from time to time to look at the corpse outside. Lin Qin discovered her small movement and raised an eyebrow to explain. Rest assured, the person outside was not killed by me. When I came, it was because the door was opened. I thought there was no one here, and I could collect some materials. I live here. It is not surprising to appear here. But you, why are you here? He remembers that the intermediary company is not close to it. It's a bit fantasy to meet. Lin Qin's explanation made Zaya sating breath, and she reached out and pulled the messy hair. I live in the neighborhood opposite. The position here is relatively biased, and the buses will go here in 2 roads. The rent will be much cheaper. I just internship. I just rent a house without so many money. It was too chaotic for a few days, and I saw that many people were killed by my companions. It's terrible. I have never seen such a situation. If you can't hold it anymore, I won't come out to find it. And the supermarket basically ransacked. I found nothing, and I met zombies. I ran here all the way. Lin Qin didn't speak. She could see that she was scared and panicked. One face was white. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something. He grabbed Lin Qin's big hand and looked eager. By the way, you can run away. The zombies outside are probably coming here, but don't be involved in me. I can't run anymore. You reading www.uking.net. You hurry up. It must be unsafe here. Not safe. It's not that he bragged. He was originally in order to close the big iron gate of Shimin and separate the entire villa into a relatively safe and controllable range. Leaving now is definitely not good. Moreover, he has a lot of weapons, and he doesn't have to be too afraid of the zombies. Of course, at present, he is not afraid of zombies that are scarce. After all, they're guns in hand. But in general, it is not necessary to be able to shoot without guns. The sound of gunfire attracts zombies is too troublesome. Don't be afraid, I protect you. Lin Qin patted her shoulder, but was doubtful by Xiao Xue. But zombies? Xiao Xue wants to remind Lin Qin's zombies a lot. How do he protect himself? But when I saw the fire axe placed next to the sofa, I swallowed it to my mouth. The fire axe is stronger than her steel pipe, and she is still a man. Power in other aspects must be much stronger than a woman. She has seen other beautiful girls in the building. If you want to live voluntarily to depend on a powerful man, some are even forced. Whatever it is not good. Some of them are naturally because of this. But the bigger reason is because the powerful men in the building are very old and ugly. She has no other places to go. Lin Qin is also considered to know. Boom! The thought was chaotic, and there was an explosion outside the house. Xiao Xue scared the whole person to Lin Qin's arms. Ah, so scary. Her voice was very nice. There was a little lowly sound. At this moment, he was buried directly in Lin Qin's arms. Lin Qin was like a sudden opening of protection. I immediately went back to the backhand building. Don't be afraid, I protect you. The explosion of Yu Yun quickly dispersed, and Xiao Xue retreated from Lin Qin's arms. Shy! Lin Qin swallowed his mouth, a little uncomfortable. He got up and walked upstairs. The field of vision on the 3rd floor is wide, and forget to be farther. The explosion downstairs can be seen clearly. I saw a strong black smoke in a barbecue shop along the street. I don't know what the inside exploded. However, after the black smoke spread, Lin Qin saw several zombies wandering around the shop. Xiao Xue also came over, glanced at the outside of the house, and stood beside Lin Qin nervously. Oh my God, how could it explode? Good shops will not explode unless the gas explosion inside or something has encountered something. But there is no sophisticated at present. Just because of the explosion, the death of the zombies on the street, the disability, there are 3 or 4 together. As for the zombies chasing in Xiao Xue's mouth, Lin Qin did not see it. However, this is not counted. The explosion here is like a chain reaction. A few streets in the distance also exploded. From a distance, there are at least 5 places in the city of the city. Lin Qin condensed his eyebrows, a little puzzled. I don't know what the situation is. However, as soon as such an explosion, the zombies will not flood here. Lin Qin took a look at the follow-up situation of the street and confirmed that he did not increase the zombies and walked out. Xiaoxua held Lin Qin's hand nervously and stood by the door and dared not go out. When Lin Qin looked back, she saw her open eyes and looked at herself pitifully. Don't, it's not safe outside. Lin Qin's expression was serious, but the masculinity in his heart was bursting. Don't be afraid. I'll close the door. Just stay here. Lin Qin sent her back to the living room, thinking about taking out a bag of instant noodles from his pocket, and his face was embarrassed. I don't have a lot of food here. If you don't mind, you eat it for a small and a half seal. You just wait for the rescue in this room. The kitchen is eaten in this house. For 2 days, the rescue team comes. Speaking, Lin Qin pulled Xiaoxua's hand and went out alone. The door of the villa area made a harsh sound, but this time Lin Qin closed smoothly. He buckled the door and returned in a direction. As for Xiaoxua, anyway, this house was found by others. With the villa, Lin Qin is now hot. Now he just wants to go back to his home, blow cold air conditioners, and rest comfortably. Xiaoxua squatted next to the gate of the yard. Once Lin Qin's figure appeared, she immediately rushed up. This man is now his only life, saving straw. But Lin Qin may never go back. After thinking about it, Xiaoxua squatted at the door and stared nervously at the direction of the door. After the gate of the community came in, there were a total of 3 roads in different directions. As long as she stared at it at all times, she could find out where Lin Qin went. Sure enough, Lin Qin chose another direction. She followed up. Keep not far away. There's still 2 days before the rescue starts. If she goes well in the past 2 days, she can leave with the rescue team. But what if it is not smooth? Things are always double-sided, and she is not unable to see people who want to live. When the weather was hot, Lin Qin reached out and wiped the sweat beads from his forehead. Think about going back and take a bath first. Xiaoxua also followed him and did not speak. Looking at Lin Qin's hot, she quickly stepped forward to hand over the clean paper towels. The main thing along the way is a companion. Lin Qin couldn't help but stop and look back at her. Xiaoxua immediately looked at Lin Qin innocently without talking. Lin Qin went forward and she followed. Lin Qin stopped and she also stopped. The 2 doors of the villa area have been closed. Now the zombies outside can't get in and the zombies inside can't get out. It can be said that it is closed to fight dogs. Lin Qin had thought about going back to lie down and rest and slowly cleaning up the zombies. But now he has changed his mind. The direction of the way, Lin Qin went north where he had never been to. The pattern of each house in the villa area is the same. The difference is that the location is different. Lin Qin walked all the way forward, and the surroundings were particularly quiet. Even the birds were not screaming. On the edge of the greenbelt, several rotten corpses exudes a bad smell. Flies fly around. Xiaoxua was scared, but still chose to keep up with Lin Qin. I didn't know if I noticed what I had, and I took some restlessness to hold Lin Qin's sleeves. Lin Qin's footsteps were slightly paused, and he had no time to take care of Xiaoxua's move. He heard some unusual voices. Lin Qin squatted down and stretched out his hands to the greening. Out again, there's a bow and arrow in your hand. Did you hear something? Xiaoxua looked at the sudden bow and arrow in Lin Qin's hands in surprise and whispered inquiries at the same time. Lin Qin didn't answer, but gave her a look at her side. In an instant, Xiaoxua closed her mouth and no longer said much. Lin Qin stepped forward and carefully identified the source of the surrounding sound. Later, there were 5 zombies in the yard of the villa next to him. Living neatly, it seems that it will be open with tea. Lin Qin took out the bow and arrow aiming, saw the zombies inside, and turned directly into the yard. The 5 zombies in the yard are pretty decent. However, the door is closed, and there's no trace of the entry of zombies. There were no bite or injury all over the body, and it looked a little weird. However, the T virus is infected, and even the final result does not go out, it will evolve into zombies. This family looks obviously the result of the virus outbreak. Lin Qin reached out and squeezed his nose and did not plan to go in. Xiaoxua on the side looked at it and looked at Lin Qin and said nothing. Yu reading book www.yukangshu.net. So far, he must have the reason for him. Do not collect whether there are useful materials. There should be any other problems. Well, it must be like this. Two people turned around in the North District and killed almost a dozen zombies. Xiao Xue has always followed Lin Qin. Don't ask. Like a fart, there is no complaint. Lin Qin couldn't help admiring such high-temperature weather. Walking back to the villa, Lin Qin couldn't help but look back at the woman behind him. You don't have to follow me all the time. You can know it for 2 days. Xiao Xue lowered her head and had no cavity. She naturally knew that rescue was only 2 days. But the question is that it is unknown whether it can be alive in the past 2 days. Otherwise, there'll be so many people who go out and collect materials. In other words, rescue is just an opportunity to survive, but not everyone can live to rescue. Especially now, the battery life of mobile phones has become a great problem. For the various rescue information released by the state, it cannot be received on time and exactly. She has no radio, and the only mobile phone has no electricity in the morning. It can be said that it is completely broken with the outside world. The only thing that knows is the date of rescue released in the early days, and the gamble waits. Lin Qin just took 2 steps forward, and Xiao Xue kept up again. I just stay for 2 days, and we can leave together when the rescue comes. Don't you go to the rescue base with me? Lynch Lion lived without speaking. He has never been to this rescue base, but he has heard of it. It seems that the result is not very good. However, the specific Lin Qin didn't know what it looked like or what the subsequent results were. He belongs to the one who missed the troops and found that hiding in the garbage station can hide the taste of his body well and avoid the attack of the zombies. But there is indeed a foundation base in the future. As for whether there are any conditions after joining, Lin Qin can't know. After thinking about it, Lin Qin didn't speak, but just moved forward. 2 days are actually fast. Coupled with the things in his room, except for the solar power board in the yard, everything else is normal. And solar power generation boards are still in the backyard. As long as you don't go to the backyard, you can't see it. As for the window of the backyard, Lin Jintun paused. If he doesn't, he can carry these things on the top of the building. But it's okay. And for 2 days, the subsequent specific situation has nothing to do with him. Xiao Xue's eyes saw hope and immediately hugged Lin Qin's arm. Mr. Lin, I am a weak woman, and I can't threaten you. In this way, as long as you take me, let me deal with me in the past 2 days, as long as you want me to give. The opponent has a bow and arrow in his hands, and the accurate head is very good. Following him is definitely safe. If you just see an acquaintance before, you want to keep up with peace of mind to avoid these 2 days and wait until the rescue. So now, this is not the case. This is definitely a capable big man. Even if they follow the rescue staff to the temporary base, they can follow him for a long time. Xiao Xue quickly followed and kept coquettish. Lin Qin couldn't help but let go. Forget it, come with me. Xiao Xue was ecstatic. Follow Lin Qin to his villa. Looking at the height wall, the heavy iron gate, and the anti-theft windows like prison cover the whole villa, Xiao Xue took a breath. Lin Qin opened the door and looked at Xiao Xue. Hesitating, Xiao Xue still walked in. It was dead outside, and it was dead. Shouldn't the previous situation of this customer be the case? Take a deep breath. She walked in, watching Lin Qin closing the heavy iron door. Opening the door of the villa along the way followed. Except that the outside looks a little uncomfortable, the layout inside is exactly the same as the villa. Moreover, it is not very crowded. Xiao Xue was cramped, but at the moment of entering the door, the cold air in the house overflowed and the dryness of the sun was swept away. Xiao Xue's eyes were slightly bright and then walked in quickly, looking around. It's air conditioning. Isn't it the power out of power? How can he still have electricity and air conditioner? After Lin Qin closed the door, he took off his shirt directly. After walking outside, the clothes were soaked by sweat, sticky and uncomfortable. Xiao Xue beating her heart, watching this scene a little shy. Dared to look at Lin Qin. Is it so fast? Although I did say that everything can be done, of course, it also includes some aspects. But now it is a bit too fast. She is not ready. Just when Xiao Xue was tangled, Lin Qin strode towards the bathroom. Closing the door, Lin Qin directly removed the storage space, and the bucket filled with hot water was taken out and poured into the bathtub. Hot water was released from the bathroom shower before, and the temperature was rated at 50 degrees. Cold water is ordinary cold water. Nowadays, shower is definitely not used. After all, the current tap water is all broken. It can only be bathing in the most primitive way. Fortunately, I bought 2 large buckets before I had a lot of water. Lin Qin only needs to take out the 2 buckets of barrels to fill the entire bathtub. But Lin Qin was only used in half. After all, it will overflow too much. Lying off your clothes in the bathtub, let alone how comfortable it is. Lin Qin also cleaned his hair, by the way. It didn't take long for it to come out in a refreshing manner, only a bath towel on his body. There was a movement from behind, and Xiao Xue turned around. I saw Lin Qin's naked upper body, and the water droplets on her hair slid down the collarbone, then flowed in a towel wrapped in the lower body. Xiao Xue couldn't help swallowing, watching. Although Lin Qin said that her body was not very good, she was a bit thin. But he has abdominal muscles. Intersection. Especially somehow. Lin Qin, who took a shower, had a very special charm. Xiao Xue lowered her head immediately. Lin Qin was unknown, so she just wiped her wet hair, holding her dry towel. Seeing Xiao Xue's movement, he thought she wanted a wash. While rubbing his hair, Lin Qin said, "If you want to wash it for a while. After washing, come upstairs to find me. The water in the bathtub should be put in a while, and the water can be dried." In that bucket of hot water, Lin Qin used only half. There are also half buckets of hot and half buckets of cold water. He doesn't like the hot water of the dead. After Lin Qin finished speaking, he went directly to the bedroom upstairs and lay down. In addition to the basement, the entire villa is not worthwhile to read the book www.yukangsha.net. Not to mention something like food, it is naturally in Lin Qin's storage space. He will not place such important things in the house at will. Xiao Xue nodded, and it was not until Lin Qin's figure disappeared into the sight that he relaxed a lot. Back in the bedroom, Lin Qin opened the monitoring on the phone. Through monitoring, you can clearly see Xiao Xue's every move. At first, it was still cramped. After confirming that Lin Qin did not move, he got up and went to the bathroom. There are also monitoring in the bathroom. Lin Qin can see her every move. I saw that after opening the shower to confirm that there was no water inside, she reached out and touched the bucket next to her. The water flow in the bathtub is almost the same. Xiao Xue looked at the hot water in the bucket and then looked at the things in the bathroom. The things in the bathroom are rare. There is also a stacked bath towel on the towel rack, which is wrapped in a plastic bag. It should be new. Xiao Xue looked down and looked around and then sealed the towel, then take off the clothes on his body. Lin Qin touched his nose and forgot to close it for a while. Looking at Xiao Xue, who was only left with underwear, he bent his waist and faded his bottom pants. Lin Qin returned to God and silently closed the monitoring. At present, the behavior is normal. There is no excessive move. Maybe he is really suspicious? Lin Qin stuffed his phone under the pillow and waited a little boring. I'll just close my eyes and rest for a while. But the picture just echoed in his mind, and his body was unbearable. When he was irritable, Lin Qin forced himself to close his eyes. But I can't fall asleep at all. Buzzing. The vibration of the phone sounded. Lin Qin opened his eyes sharply and took out the mobile phone under the pillow. Zhang Jian's news came into view. Zhang Jian. After finishing "My sister can't contact this morning. What should I do? Will it happen?" This kind of thing itself cannot be controlled. Lin Qin sighed and comforted. Lin Qin, don't worry. Maybe it's just out of power. Lin Qin, and when did you have a sister? I do not know how. Zhang Huan, you have never asked me, and I have never said it. She has always been in her hometown and just graduated this year. Zhang Yi, I tell you that my sister is beautiful, and I am worried about whether there will be any problems in my hometown. Lin Qin, well, you are worried about your worry. You're not in the same place. Zhang Huan, this is different. Before you reminded me of the phone, the electric treasure was full of power, and I told my sister this is not possible to get out of power so quickly. Suddenly, it can't be contacted. It must be something. Zhang Jian, and she told me that she didn't eat at home last night. She wanted to go out to find materials. Zhang Jian. But we're not very familiar with the neighbors at home, and there are no supermarkets nearby. My hometown is different from the city, and she's a girl. Lin Qin, then you're anxious now. This is hundreds of kilometers away. There is no way. Even if something really happens, it is impossible to fly over. Zhang Huan. I know, but I am worried, and now the only thing I can talk to me is you. I can't contact her now. I feel panicked. And several of the corporate technology departments have become zombies. Lin Qin, don't think about it. Maybe just go out to find food and don't have time to read the information. Zhang Jian. There's a little sense of what I say. I will wait. In case of collecting supplies, my frequent contact may hurt her. Lin Qin, that's it, don't worry. Lin Qin, it's your kid. There is a sister who hides without saying. Why? I'm afraid that I will harm your sister. Zhang Jian, don't mention, I am such a sister, of course, carefully protecting it. Zhang Huan, I have a photo for you. After a while, Lin Qin received the photo sent by Zhang Jian. The girl in the photo is a bit familiar. It is for a while and half a while, but it really looks good. Lin Qin nodded and replied, yes, it is really beautiful. It looks like a good girl. No wonder your kid has been hiding. Zhang Jian, well, I knew that I took her over, and I was anxious now. Lin Qin, it's okay. When you're in contact with her, maybe you may contact it. Zhang Huan, it makes sense, I know. Zhang Huan, what do you have recently? My charging treasure has been used up, and it is estimated that it will be completely out of power for a long time. After that, it is estimated that we can't contact it. Fortunately, the rescue will come in 2 days. Don't forget at that time, maybe we can meet at the rescue base. Lin Qin, I know, let's talk about it. Zhang Huan, don't say any more. I have to save electricity and talk about it next time. The topic of the two people ended in a hurry. Lin Qin put his mobile phone on his side and then looked back at the ceiling on his head and recalled the photo. The more you look, the more familiar. Don't say that Xiaoyu, the agent Xiaoyu, is really a bit like his real estate agent. But one in my hometown is just coincidence. Holding his head, Lin Qin's thoughts closed his eyes and closed his eyes. The sun outside the house was just right, and occasionally a bird's cry came. I don't know, after a long time, Lin Qin only felt the smell of perfume. He opened his eyes and saw Xiaoxue standing in front of him wrapped in a bath towel. A face was getting closer and pushed him to bed. The weak and bone hand stroked Lin Qin's chest, slowly unbuttoning down his only bath towel. The woman's eyes turned around, and under Lin Qin's gaze, the bath towel was unlocked. Lin Qin stayed. When he reacted, he had pressed Xiaoxue to the remaining and touched her leg. However, when the two people went further, the door behind him was pushed away. Friend Zhang Jian stood at the door and looked at them unbelievably, accusing Lin Qin. Lin Qin opened his eyes sharply, and his heart touched his heart. Fortunately, it's just a dream. After half an hour, after taking a shower, Xiaoxue walked out with a bath towel and glanced around carefully. Her clothes were dirty, and the half bucket of water was rubbed twice when taking a bath. There's also a bath towel on the towel stand, which can only be temporarily wrapped on her body. After all, Lin Qin's meaning is so obvious. Washing and putting on it is a bit more in one way. Wrapped in a bath towel and passed through the living room, she walked along the stairs. I just saw Lin Qin go upstairs, but did not know where his room was, so he could only find them one by one. Lin Qin just woke up, and he was still a little confused. I heard a few sounds from outside. He looked at the door side by side. From the gap between the door, it could be seen that someone was walking around. There is still a person in the family that Lin Qin knows that she doesn't know what she is doing. Xiaoxue pushed away the other two empty rooms and did not find Lin Qin. Turning around, Yu read the book www.yuyukengshu.net. She saw that the door behind her was not turned off and walked straight. Opened the door and faced Lin Qin directly. She was only wrapped in a bath towel, and her nervous hand pinched one corner. Lin Qin looked at each other and reunited with the dream. Excitement, Lin Qin said. What are you doing? Is it to test his self-control? Xiaoxue lowered her head and whispered, Don't you say waiting for me upstairs. Lin Qin. He said that, but didn't say what he wanted. Xiao Xue got courage and raised her head, going quickly to Lin Qin's side, raising his legs and pressed on the bed, holding Lin Qin with both hands. You won't want to drive me away. I said just stay for 2 days. As long as you take me in the past 2 days, even if you want to treat me. These are not important than alive. She stared at Lin Qin's lips and bent over and kissed directly, sitting across his leg. A separate bath towel. Lin Qin was scared by her boldness, but then turned around and pressed her, showing the charm of men. Damn, Lao Tzu is a bloody man. There is no reason to send it to the door. Reaching out the towel on her body, Lin Qin possessed. The temperature in the bedroom rises rapidly. But the progress of the two was interrupted. Lin Qin didn't know what was going on outside. The sound of this sound seemed to be hitting the door. Get up to lift your pants. Lin Qin quickly walked to the window and looked down. In the courtyard, a large fist stone appeared in front of the eyes. But looking at the entire trail, there was no figure. What's the situation? Lin Qin was confused. Then opened the monitoring and view. In the monitoring picture, there are only signs of stone flying, and people are not shot. It seems to be the dead end of monitoring. Lin Qin carefully studied the direction of the stone flying and locked on the streets of no one on the street. On both sides of the street, there is no personal. Lin Qin looked down and could not help but improve his vigilance. It seems that someone is trying, and it is likely to be staring at his villa. Also, the appearance of the villa is really obvious. It is very different from the other surrounding uniform villas. Even from the outside, it just adds more anti-theft windows. But it looks safer than other single-family villas. There are not many anti-theft nets now. For the zombies, with the reinforcement of this layer of anti-theft net, you don't have to worry about breaking the tempered glass easily. In the next few days, I have to deal with it carefully. With a heavy mood, Lin Qin closed the window and returned to the bedroom. The woman on the bed was naked and wrapped in Lin Qin's bedding. Seeing that he came back, Xiao Xue lowered his head shyly, but he held the quilt's hand tightly, and his trembling eyes blinked. Obviously very nervous, Lin Qin looked at this scene and patted his head a little annoyed. He was really impulsive just now. And now, there's no mood anymore. You take a good rest for a while, I'll go next door. When the words fell, Lin Qin closed the door of the room. Xiao Xue in the room looked at it. I've been staring at the door of the room. For a long time, the door of the room was not pushed away. Slowly loosened the heart. Xiao Xue got up, locked the door of the room, and returned to the bed. It gradually fell asleep. The night arrived as scheduled. Lin Qin's bedroom is chaotic. In the darkness, the gurgling sound of the belly was particularly obvious. Lin Qin touched the dark, turned on the lights in the bedroom, and then went downstairs. I ate only half a watermelon at noon, and my stomach was hungry long ago. At this moment, there was another woman. Lin Qin could only take a roast duck out of the cooked food before. The other dishes are sauerkraut fish, red meat, and a family barrel. The scent of the meal came, and when Xiao Xue went downstairs, I saw Lin Qin a little awkward, but thinking that it should not be driven away and settled again. The lights inside the villa are bright, and Xiao Xue is very knowledgeable and did not ask why there's electricity. It wasn't until he saw the food on the dining table of Lin Qin's living room, and Xiao Xue was stunned. She looked at Lin Qin, unbelievable, and looked at the food on the table. Later, I thought I was dazzling and stabbed my face. Until the pain on her face came, Xiao Xue couldn't help hissing. Pain, not dreaming. Lin Qin heard her muttered and turned back. Yes, eat it. Xiao Xue, who was hungry for a long time, was not polite. He immediately passed and began to eat madly. It is good to say how good it is. Lin Qin was sitting opposite her and ate slowly. After all, he eats these foods often. The most important thing is to save cooking. While eating, Xiao Xue said, "Oh my God, I have been hungry for a few days. How can you have so many eating? When I came in, I didn't see what you accumulated. Damn, it's so delicious, starved to death." A few pieces of duck legs were KFC, and Xiao Xue's cheeks were stuffed. When I was full of almost 7 minutes, I slowly stopped eating. She looked at the opposite Lin Qin and smiled stupidly. Well, I haven't been scared by me. I'm not so hungry. How long have you been hungry? Lin Qin didn't have much expression. After all, he was so hungry before. But I still asked a few more words. Xiaoxue bit his chicken leg, drank a cup of mineral water, and looked up. 3 days. I didn't eat for 3 days. Ordinary people should have been floating long ago, and their eyes were stunned. But after thinking about it, when Lin Qin met her, it was still full of anger. It should be a small amount of food pads. Xiaoxue was full, mainly because she dared not eat too much in these days. The only thing in the house is just a little bit. She dares to eat a few points every day. Just as losing weight, it can last longer. But these days, she still didn't hold it. She could only go out to find food. Lin Qin nodded, nothing to say. Xiaoxue was almost 8 to look at Lin Qin. Formally, my name is Zhang Shui. What about you? I only know the surname Lin. I never know your specific name. Surname Zhang? Lin Qin took a bite of fish and looked up at the other party. This surname is Zhang Jian. And looks, no, absolutely impossible. If Zhang Jian's sister is here, how could Zhang Jian not know? Also one by one in my hometown. I must think more about it. Lin Qin took a bite of fish and did not lift his head. Lin Qin. Zhang Shui nodded and then said, I see you have electricity here. Can I charge my phone? My mobile phone was out of power last night, and I couldn't contact my family. Yu reading book www.yuyukangshu.net. I want to charge and report to him. Lin Qin doesn't matter about this kind of thing. Anyway, the power of solar power generation board is enough. There is no need for mobile phone charging. Dinner is basically not long. After eating, Lin Qin asked her to choose which one to live. Zhang Shui did not push off. After the charging was charged, she immediately opened the video. In a strange environment, the voice of the man came in the video. What is your situation? How can you keep in touch with? Do you know how much I am worried about you? Didn't you embarrass you next door? What? The moment the video opened, the other party crackled. Zhang Shui watched the other person smiling, and his tone was coquettish. No, I went out to find the material and turned off the phone for fear that there was a sound suddenly attracted zombies. Rest assured, brother, it's okay. The sound in the video sounded again. Then you don't always worry about me. I knew the current situation. At first you said that I would agree to the internship here. Otherwise, I would not separate the two places now. Speaking of this, Zhang Shui has no sincerity, and there was no abnormalities on the other side of the video. Lin Qin went upstairs to find that the bedroom next door was turned on, and there was a gap in the door. The conversation inside is particularly obvious. The sound in the video is familiar. Lin Qin condensed his eyebrows and walked over. Pushing open the door, Zhang Shui wore a suspender pajama with a single leg on the bed. There is still a mobile phone in your hand. The movement behind her, Zhang Shui looked at her head. I saw Lin Qin come over. She subconsciously covered her mobile phone screen and clicked on the mute buttons of the microphone to not let her talk to the other side. What's the matter? Lin Qin shook her head, just looked at her. Who are you just calling? This sound is so familiar. It won't be so coincidentally. My brother, what's wrong? Zhang Shui was unknown, and he was a little hesitant to speak. At the same time, I think about whether I have any questions. Lin Qin took a breath and saw the voice of the other party from the mobile phone covered by Zhang Shui. Who are you? How can you be in my sister's room? Zhang Shui closed the microphone, but she did not turn off the volume key to turn off the sound. The conversation here is indeed not passed on, but the voice there can be passed over. As soon as she covered it, the other party saw Lin Qin's corner, but she hadn't spoken. After waiting for a while, I found that the voice of my sister's side was broken, and I couldn't help but anxious. The quality of this sounded, and Zhang Shuyu bowed his head to close the video. But Lin Jintun lived. This sound. Wait a minute, shouldn't your brother call Zhang Jian? Zhang Shui's eyes widened. How do you know my brother? Lin Qin. Sin. Have to. Lin Qin sighed, and then pulled out his mobile phone to open up the video. Zhang Jian was still wondering how a man suddenly appeared in his sister's room. Will be in danger or something? The whole person is anxious. Lin Qin's phone call suddenly came. Although he had no mood, he still connected. Lin Qin scratched his head and watched Zhang Jian in the video a little helpless. Is the accident? How do you call me video? Your sister is here. What? Zhang Jian's voice could not help but increase a lot. Full of his face, Lin Qin sighed, saying, the specific is that your sister explained to you by himself. I also hit it by mistake and met today. Lin Qin glanced at Zhang Shui, who had finished his face. Pass the phone over. Zhang Shui looked at Lin Qin and looked at the collection again. When he hesitated, he dare not pick up. But Zhang Jian's response in the video was quite fast. At this time, he had returned to God and whispered, scolding over there. I know. When I had to come here, I didn't let me make trouble at first. I said that I didn't put one fart in the back. As that didn't happen, I dared to run back with me secretly. Here, Zhang Shui, what are you pretending to die? Give me a phone call. Did you hear? Zhang Shui sighed and eventually took the phone. I never thought that her first customer turned out to be her brother's friend, really turning the boat in the gap. Elder brother. Zhang Shui in the video was not very happy and a little scared. Zhang Jian looked at her, so he didn't hit it. But I stunned again. Say, how long have you been here? Zhang Xuexin said virtually, it's almost a month. Zhang Qian. He took a deep breath, and he said again, what do you do? Real estate agents. Zhang Qian. He was out of breath. In the next picture, Lin Qin retreated, but vaguely can still hear the scolding of splitting his head and face in the room. Lin Qin gave their siblings 2 rooms. Back to his room, Lin Qin was sitting on the bed and trapped. He gave his sister's sister. What bad thing about this? I knew that one Qinya or Nanwei, which one is not very good. Any adult, everyone understands. It's really a loss. Lin Qin was still annoyed, and it didn't take a long time to knock outside the door. Zhang Shui sent Lin Qin's mobile phone over and said nothing and retreated directly. Lin Qin took the mobile phone and was just on his head when she was scolded. After a while, Lin Qin received a large paragraph of text from Zhang Jian. Zhang Huan, my sister told me that today is rescued by you. Fortunately, I was more assured when I met you. If others, I dare not think about whether they would meet anything. Zhang Huan. I have never agreed to come here before. At that time, I was still renting it together. I was not very convenient to think about it, so I didn't think about it. I came to the internship. She is a stubborn personality, alas, but fortunately I met you. Zhang Jian. During this time, I will trouble you to help me take care of her. If there is nothing obedient, if there is anything, you will give me a fierce beat. What is it? You can be regarded as her half of his brother. Lin Qin. Don't. His half of his brother did bad things. Don't trust yourself. Listening to Zhang Jian's words, his inexplicable trust made Lin Qin touch his nose. I really don't know how to answer. Zhang Jian sent a lot of explanation over there. Among them, there was his mobile phone without electricity to break the connection to Lin Qin to take care of Lin Qin. Lin Qin could only sigh, hesitated in the third, and thought of the sentence before returning. Lin Qin, I will take care of her, you can rest assured. 2 people talked for almost 10 minutes, and Yu read books www.yukangshu.net stopped the conversation. Lin Qin was lying on the big bed, watching the chandeliers on his head in a daze for a while. Later, he sighed directly. This night was very quiet, and the 2 were lying in different rooms and stunned. It was not until the middle of the night that it was asleep. Early the next day, Lin Qin's mobile alarm clock rang on time. Bew. Lin Qin opened her sleepy eyes, reaching out to close the alarm clock. Turn around and continue to sleep. I slept too late last night, and the alarm sounded too early. I don't know how long I slept. Lin Qin smelled the rice fragrance of a meal and opened his eye. Who cooks early in the morning? It's so fragrant. He got up, rubbed a little dizzy head, opened the door, and walked out. The dining table in the living room. Put a pot of rice porridge just cooked, and there are 2 different kinds of pickles in the plate on the table. The remaining messy wolf yesterday had been cleaned by Zhang Shui, all of which were put in the trash. The sound of the collision of the tableware in the kitchen. Zhang Shui held the bowl and looked at Lin Qin's figure a little unexpected. Wake up, just right. I made some white rice porridge. I didn't find anything to eat in your kitchen, so I saw half a bag of rice installed below, and a few bottles of meals in the cabinet, so I just got it. Eat quickly while it's hot. Zhang Shui took the spoon and gave out the rice porridge. The rice fragrance was scattered, and Lin Qin took a spoon and blowing it twice. He had really put half a bag of rice in order to make a look at the kitchen, but for so long, he has never opened a fire. It is the most chaotic period for this period of time to eat and drink. If you cook, the aroma of the meal will be heard by some people who have been heard and find it all the way. There's some unnecessary trouble. Lin Qin couldn't think of Zhang Shui would take the initiative to cook. When cooking at this time, it is simply looking for death. Do everything, eat it. Rice porridge is light, and there is no special taste. It tastes pretty good. This is still copied in the supermarket. In order to pretend, Lin Qin just took out 2 or 3 types at will, placed in the wardrobe on the kitchen. But eat the same for breakfast. Compared with Lin Qin's random, Zhang Shui is a bit cramped, as well as the emptiness of eating a meal peeking at Lin Qin from time to time. Lin Qin is pretending not to know. When I was full, I put down the chopsticks and went to the sofa in the living room to sit down. Lin Qin leaned on the sofa and turned on his mobile phone. The mobile phone is connected to the monitoring. Through the mobile phone, Lin Qin can also switch the situation of each surveillance to view each area. Yesterday, he closed the door, and other survivors in the villa area should have discovered it. In addition, Zhang Shui made meals in the morning. The rice fragrance is scattered. How much will attract attention? He had to stare at all times to make sure that there was no exception. The monitoring is normal, and there is no wind and grass around the house. There is no one in the intersections. Lin Qin condensed his eyebrows and confused. These people should not. There must be others in the villa area. The taste of this rice fragrance must be drifted out. Slightly thought, Lin Qin turned off his phone and turned upstairs, as well as Zhang Shui sat in front of the dining table and watched him hurried upstairs. But the atmosphere was a little awkward. I don't know if my brother has a relationship with him, but Zhang Shui is more relaxed. The person who knows the first brother will definitely not do what he is, and personal safety is also absolutely safe. Zhang Shui shrugged her shoulders, and then she put the chopsticks in the chopsticks. At this time, the villa area was opposite to the villa area. A team of people looked around nervously. Wang Yu squatted on the side of the man, seemed to have some dog legs. Brother, that woman, I saw him running to the opposite side yesterday, and also eyebrows with a man. It should have been a long time ago. The call man is called Hushang. The relationship with Wang Yu is a shared roommate. However, people are high, and Wang Yu, a weak chicken, dare not provoke at will. Hushang watched without a zombie on the street and hummed coldly. Just right. Just go to the opposite side to search for something useful. This rich area can't get in. Now it's okay, just go in, go. The 2 doors are very close, and they are separated by a 2-way lane. Easily came to the opposite side. However, the gate of the villa area was turned off. Hushang reached out and touched the door, and then said, "Go forward and climb up." The rich people in the villa area are a little bit. The wall is not high. If you want to climb up, it is easy. The 2 did not have much effort and turned over. The villa area is extremely quiet. The weather today is not very good, and I always feel a little gloomy. Hushang and Wang Yu did not dare to make too much sound. After all, no one knows which corner the zombie is hiding. The rotten smell in the air was very unpleasant, and the pace of the 2 could not help but speed up. When passing by the garbage station, the 2 people saw the door of a family. Seeing this scene, the 2 people were a little welcoming. The corpse in the yard is still there, exuding odor. The flies lingering around the corpse did not disperse. Hushang fanned the air around his nose, and it seemed that this could be isolated from the odor. Looking at each other, Hushang pointed to Wang Yu. "You, go in. If there is a zombie in the courtyard, one person must go in to explore the road." Wang Yu's meaning appeared on his face, but Hushang's eyes stared, and his legs could not help but soften. This man is a powerful lord. When he killed others in the building, he didn't blink. He covered his nose and nose on his neck, and then carefully acted across the corpse. A hot air blew from the half-opening door, and Wang Yu was panicked. Fortunately, it was relatively quiet inside and did not see any zombies. At the same time, his dog's legs laughed. Brother, no zombies. Hu Shang's look was loosened. After looking at the corpse on the ground, the diameter collapsed. The room was not as good as it. It seemed like it was searched by people over the box. Even the corpse at the door is not difficult to guess. It is estimated that it is also under the men of other survivors. However, there is a pack of instant noodles that have not been eaten on the coffee table in the living room. Hu Shang walked over, blowing the bite place, and the rest stuffed directly into his mouth and ate it. This instant noodles did not know if the corpse outside was not finished or forgot to take away. Anyway, there's not so much attention for supplies. Two people patrolled in the living room like this. You read the book www.ukangshu.net, Hu Shang suddenly said. Go to the next family. It is all over this way. It is estimated that nothing is. The two came out of the house again and continued to walk along the cement road in front of the villa. The villa is not close, and you only need to take a small meeting to reach the next family. Hu Shang ate instant noodles and couldn't help feeling the environment around him. The land of rich people is really spacious, and even the greening on the roadside is very good. Of course, if there is no rotten odor in the air. Hu Jin couldn't help taking a deep breath and frowned slightly. Wait, how can the odor in this air be mixed with a rice fragrance? Did he smell it wrong? Hu Jin couldn't help but take a deep breath again, smelling everywhere. No, there's indeed a rice fragrance. No, now there are water and electricity everywhere. But where does the rice fragrance come? It shouldn't. Is it possible that he hasn't eaten for a long time and has an illusion? Hu Shang stopped, reached out, and patted Wang Yu in front. Do you smell the aroma of rice? Wang Yutong lived and sniffed around. There is indeed a meal in the air. Yes, there's a rice fragrance, but where it came from? The two looked at each other. Start smelling the taste everywhere. It seems to come from earlier. The two went along the aroma. After a while, I saw the previous villa that looked incompatible with the surroundings. The heights of the courtyard wall are covered with iron, cutting windows on the entire building. At first glance, Hu Shang was greedy. I can't think there is such a house here. It is the best place to live in the perfect defense. It's a pity that tomorrow is the rescue day. If he finds that there is this house here early. Maybe you can live here early and you don't have to worry about it like there. Brother here from the inside. Hu Shang, who had returned to God, listened to Wang Yu's words and nodded. However, this villa looks obviously not the residence of ordinary people, and it seems that it is not easy to mess with. After all, the zombies broke out suddenly, and no one predicted in advance. The decoration around this villa is normal house decoration. Only this building is not. Has a problem. He looked around, and then said, Forget it, go back first. I will start rescue tomorrow. At this time, it is still a bit stable. Do in have an exterior branch. Hu Shang thinks more long. For this, delaying tomorrow's rescue is obviously uncomfortable. It is by no means that ordinary people can do so can be renovated like this. After thinking about it, Hu Shang still planned to return to peace and wait. Wang Yu is unknown, but he didn't say much. When he obeyed Hu Shang, he was ready to be obedient. Otherwise, it is impossible to be alive. The two people smelled me Xiang in the air, and they were still unhappy. But I left here. Through monitoring, Lin Qin naturally found two people, but they just looked at the periphery and left here. This surprised Lin Qin, but thinking about it is normal. After all, this time is still steadily waiting for rescue. Lin Qin couldn't help but switch the page and open Weibo to check. Due to the power off problem, most of the news on Weibo was not too new and basically stayed a few days ago. Only a few people posted information, but they did not respond. After Lin Qin glanced, he retreated. If the state publishes relevant information, it should not be released here. After all, there are few people who can receive messages. Lin Qin looked at it, and after finding useful information, he closed the page. The air conditioner inside the house is cool and gray outside the house. It seems that there will be a heavy rain for a long time. I don't know if it will affect rescue tomorrow. Lin Qin thought for a moment, and Zhang Jian's words sounded in his head. Protect his sister and give it to himself. The stress is really a bit large in such a two-sentence words. But think about it. Will the rescue tomorrow let her go or not? Lin Qin couldn't help but sigh. Her own intention is to go, but the rescue base is not as good as imagined. Lin Qin got up and climbed all the way to the third floor. There's only one room on the third floor, and the other room has been opened, and the vision is wide. The location in the living room was very large, and Lin Qin hung the weaving frame purchased on Taobao on the wall. Later, the people stood in the distance and took a bow to aim. He practiced a lot of bows and arrows, and there was no suitable location at home, so he can only do a humble facility exercise by himself. The two people who had breakfast had no intersection. On the one hand, the identity of the two sides has happened that happened, and on the other hand, Lin Qin has not been free. After Zhang Shui heard the movement upstairs, he followed him slowly. I saw Lin Qin pull the bow and arrow and practice the weaving frame hanging on the wall with the roots. After licking his mouth, Zhang Shui clenched his hands nervously. Well, if you feel uncomfortable, just do nothing between us. I won't tell my brother either. What's more, the matter of that day was indeed an accident. I actually ran out of the family. It is the same for others. Moreover, you look very powerful, so don't look too much. Speaking, Zhang Shui was a bit incoherent. In the end, she didn't know what she said. Lin Qin shot the last practice arrow in his shot and couldn't help looking back. Do you see what you're talking about? Don't worry, it's nothing to me. I'm just in touch. Don't bother me if you have nothing. By the way, there are food in the refrigerator. You can get it. After Lin Qin finished speaking, he walked into the woven basket by the wall and pulled back the practice arrows one by one. Repeat practice. When Zhang Shui saw Lin Qin's speech, it seemed that there was nothing. I went to the refrigerator on the first floor with doubt. There's some yogurt milk ice cola in the refrigerator, and there are ice cream in the freezer. No, why didn't she see these things in the morning? With doubt, Zhang Shui happily took out an ice cream and ate it. One afternoon, she sat next to the stairs on the third floor and looked at Lin Qin's practice. At night, the thunder outside the house was masterpiece. The rainstorm comes fiercely. Zhang Shui turned on the light and watched Lin Qin walking down from the third floor and immediately walked over. The rain outside is a lot, and it will not affect the rescue tomorrow. Lin Qin looked at her with her face, but she looked like she looked at her face. Yuukiangshu.net couldn't help laughing. Stretched out his hand directly in her head. You're thinking about what you think all day long. It's normal heavy rain. Lin Qin shook his head helplessly, then came to the search living room and turned on the TV. If you can't control, watch more TV. Zhang Shui's lips. Brother, what TV can you watch now? And can the TV be released? Zhang Shui said on this, but still turned on the TV. TV continues to play the variety show that Lin Qin hasn't finished watching before. Zhang Shui stunned. How was it possible? Does Lin Qin open the refrigerator? He doesn't return his head. Even if you want to see some shame, he has it. CD? Zhang Shui's sight fell on the DVD machine, and the machine was lit with blue light. Zhang Shui. Well, she was ignorant. In what age? There are still people who buy DVD machines. If you remember correctly, this stuff is what he did when he was a child. But the variety show on TV soon attracted her attention. Zhang Shui also had no time to take care of this issue. Watching the TV, saying, I watched the food in the refrigerator. Let's drink some yogurt milk and dinner. By the way, I didn't do the rice. I thought I was going to leave tomorrow. I didn't rectify it. Need not. Lin Qin didn't say much, just went to the second floor. When I came down, I held 3 boxes of self-heated small hot pot in my hand. Zhang Shui looked at this scene, and her mouth grew involuntarily. You get magic? When she cooks in the morning, she couldn't find sound. In the afternoon, Lin Qin told himself that he had other snacks in the refrigerator and took it. In the past, she found small cream and yogurt bread in the refrigerator. The most important thing is that there are ice cream in the freezer. These in the morning she had already found it, as if suddenly it changed. Now, there are 3 more self-heated small hot pot. Zhang Shui couldn't help but shocked again. It's just a dream. Magic. Lin Qin smiled, almost. His food is very much, and there are more places in the future. The two people burned the pot of hot water, and the spicy hot pot quickly exuded the fragrance. Zhang Shui sucked fiercely. Oh my God, it's too satisfying. Compared with her embarrassment a few days ago, don't be too happy. Zhang Shui eats the tomato burdock pot, and the burdock inside is disgusted on weekdays. After all, it is not a good meat. But now, a piece of beef belly is comfortable. Oh my God. After we went to the rescue base and met my brother, I would let my brother work well. By the way, listen, my brother, you are too. Why haven't I seen you? Two people chatted with one without one. The atmosphere is very harmonious. I ate casually for dinner. I don't know if it will be the date of rescue tomorrow. After meals, Zhang Shui returned to her bedroom, and the whole person was slightly anxious. However, Lin Qin didn't take it seriously. Whether the rescue of tomorrow can be carried out normally, and the large troops must be entered early, and the follow-up is the airborne of various helicopters. Lin Qin went to the basement while she didn't pay attention. The monitoring equipment in the basement has been online for a long time. Lin Qin took a closer look at the situation of each intersection to ensure that the villa is surrounded by safe. I waited for about half an hour. Everything was quiet. It was already the middle of the night when I returned to my room. The thunder outside the house was gradually smaller, and heavy rain stopped. However, at 5 in the morning, the sound of the outside. Lin Qin woke up from the dream. The first time I climbed the top of the building on the 3rd floor and looked up, a helicopter came from a distance to the position of Lin Qin, flew to the center, but sand. The sky is dark, except for the outline and black identification point of the aircraft. I can't see anything else. Watching the planes scattered, the roar was getting farther and farther. Lin Qin knew that the rescue had begun. The zombies hidden in the dark are surging again because of the huge roar, gathering from all directions, followed by the helicopter to chase. Knowing that the helicopter disappeared in Lin Qin's sight, Zhang Shui's voice came behind him. They are here. It should be, but this movement is so great. I am curious how they want to rescue. Looking at the sky that had no plane, Lin Qin said slowly. He had watched anime about zombies before, but the rescue inside could not be said to be simply rescue. They first saw some zombies and then dredge urgently. By the way, the most important thing seems to have not taken rescue measures. In the end, everyone's sleep is very shallow, and such a movement has long awakened a lot of people. At the 8 o'clock, the sky was completely cold, and everyone was waiting for the rescue. But over time, the time came at 12 noon, and the movement of rescue was delayed. Zhang Shui was neatly worn, sitting at home and sitting hard. Lin Qin is much easier than her. After all, he did not want to go to the shelter from the beginning. Looking at Lin Qin, who was still busy practicing, Zhang Shui couldn't help leaning over, holding Lin Qin's hand. Isn't there something unexpected? She waited all morning, and there was no movement outside. It's hard to be at ease. Lin Qin pulled his bow an arrow, and his eyes did not give her one. Then you turn on a radio and turn over the major news networks to see if there are any notices. The news network must not be available. After all, people who can see are very limited. Where's the radio? Zhang Shui was a little aggressive. In my bedroom, on the bedside table on the right. Lin Qin made up another sentence. Zhang Shuishing rushed to Lin Qin's bedroom. She lay on Lin Qin's bed and fiddled directly. The radio channel was announced before Weibo. Just find a frequency adjustment of the corresponding area, but the time of the radio is not a TV that can be replayed. After waiting for a while, there was no response. It seems that there is no latest progress. Waiting until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there was finally movement on the streets in the distance. Even far away, Lin Qin can still hear the sound of firearms fighting. Zhang Shui is unknown, but can also guess. The fighting was very hot, and they had a short distance from the center of the street. The sound of gunfire sounds is not obvious, but the explosion sounded from time to time was particularly obvious. After waiting for one morning, there was a movement. Compared with Lin Qin's calmness, Zhang Shui looked nervously into the distance. Lin Qin couldn't help reminding, You reading a book www.yukensha.net. Even if you look at it, You can't see a flower. The zombies in the central area are the most. Even if they drop the high altitude, the equipment is complete, and if they want to come out of the middle, they will spend a lot of effort. There's so many corpses. If you can finish it casually, how can you wait until now to start rescue? What's more, this rescue is not so smooth. Otherwise, I lived in the safe zone of the refuge. Zhang Shui heard that she was still a little anxious. The zombies outside started wandering around early in the morning because of the helicopter. Look from the window to the streets outside. The zombies are full of streets. Even if they are so remotely, there's so many zombies, let alone the location of the street. In the residential area over there, the business district is the most concentrated, and the personnel should be the most. Fortunately, Lin Qin went to close the door of the villa yesterday. In the villa area, there are only scattered parts in the villa area, not many. The zombies on the street did not want to enter the villa area. It should be easy for rescue, right? Why haven't you moved? All in the distance. After watching for a while, Zhang Shui couldn't help but sigh. Lin Qin's eyes couldn't help but laugh. Zhang Shui turned back. What are you laughing? Lin Qin didn't speak. This rescue task will also change the strategy. What I can do now is to quickly practice my arrows. Before I get the gun muffler, I can use the silent things like bow and arrow to kill the zombies. After all, the sound of his guns now has a huge sound, but it will surprise all the nearby zombies and other survivors. Lin Qin continued to aim at the weaving basket. The exercises in the past 2 days have a bit effective. What is the quasi-header of the arrow? Just a little. The distance is too close. He can't pull the distance farther. The accurate head is limited to the distance of the indoor living room. Hearing Zhang Shui's words, Lin Qin returned to God. Nothing. He now needs to expand the scope of his shooting and has been practicing in the living room, obviously not very good. With a bow and arrow, Lin Qin opened the sliding door on the balcony and walked over. Standing on the balcony, Lin Qin can see the road at the door of the villa. Several zombies wandered. In fact, the most secure way to practice your accurate head is to kill the zombies. Are the zombies outside the aircraft restless? Aren't they the ready-made teaching theme? Take the modified practice arrow and pull the bow to aim. The arrow directly penetrates the belly of the zombie. Lin Qin looked at the state of the same zombie, and now he can aim at aiming. That is, the aiming part is a problem. The head is too small and still moves. This difficulty is not a star. Zhang Shui followed Lin Qin's body and watched his bows pull the zombies who walked down. Can't help but clap his hands and applaud. Sure, zombies are a state of walking, not completely quiet. This is different from the day before yesterday. Lin Qin could hit. Zhang Shui couldn't help but widened. However, she claimed that she praised the zombies below. The street zombies across the wall heard Zhang Shui's movement and instantly aimed at the 3 people standing on the 3rd floor. But the peripheral wall of the villa area blocked them outside. Even so, the zombies are still densely gathered here. The few of those who wandered in the villa area also came to gather. At the gate of the yard, the zombies slammed the iron door. Standing on the 3rd floor, you can also see the zombies on the road at the door are also on the way to gather. The fat is in the fire. Zhang Xuan looked at Lin Qin apologize. Lin Qin was not angry, and the zombies gathered downstairs could just exercise the quasi-head of the arrow. After thinking about it, Lin Qin gave her hand. Try. Zhang Shui looked up at Lin Qin and hesitated whether to take his bow and arrow. She can't. Going out all the way, there are only steel pipes on your body. Lin Qin is a bow and arrow for remote attacks. Isn't he afraid of taking it by himself? Lin Qin is really not afraid. He has a lot of this. At present, there are 2 people. As one of them, Zhang Shui must also have a certain ability to survive. For example, he himself. There are no weapons. All of them are common in kitchen. Even if you sleep in a garbage dump, the final result is still not dead. So want to survive, you must be able to master a certain ability. This archery is also the key to surviving. At least when you meet zombies, even if you're far apart, as long as they can solve them within the range of shooting. And since it is together, Then it is time to bear the responsibility of the team. Lin Qin looked at her. From now on, you have to be proficient in this bow and arrow at the fastest speed. In the future, this bow and arrow will be your weapon. I saw the zombies at the gate of the yard, killed them all, went out, and searched me all the martial arts capital on them. Zhang Shui lifted his bow and looked at Lin Qin's embarrassment. But I can't. Can't you learn? Will you draw cat and tiger? Haven't watched the TV? Straighten your arm, aim at the bow, and arrow. Could it be that you plan to mix like this in the future? Expect others not. Lin Qin didn't say much. After the end, he returned to the living room. Ri's storage space was taken out of the new one, and Lin Qin turned back again. Pull the bow and aim at the zombies on the street. Zhang Shui looked at the zombies in front of the yard and looked at Lin Qin again. At this time, he pulled the bow and hit a zombie's head again. Learning Lin Qin's appearance, she raised her bow and arrow pulled the bow aim. But the bow and arrow were a bit heavy, and she was a little strenuous. First, the arrow fell directly in the yard and did not fly out at all. Zhang Shui did not believe in evil and continued to operate repeatedly. But most of them are futile. However, she still learned about Lin Qin's look at the angle and aimed at her strength, and finally saw the zombie. Lin Qin, a zombie on the street surrounding walls, almost resolved half of it. The zombie at the door of the yard resolved one. Lin Qin didn't hurry to urge her. After all, the accurate head is not good. Just practice. Zombies gather densely. Bow and arrows have no sound. The zombies below the first time they spoke, and it was very fast to solve it. The time to practice is only 50 minutes. In Zhang Shui's side, there are also a lot of gathering. Lin Qin was a little speechless. You straighten your arms and open your bow. This time, Zhang Shui succeeded to solve another one. Lin Qin was tired and returned to the living room on the third floor and sat down. Take out a bottle of mineral water and blow the cold air conditioner. Lin Qin lifts Erlang's leg to rest. Watching Zhang Shui continue to aim. After the heavy rain yesterday, the air was a little bit cooler than a few days ago, but still sultry. After standing for a while, Zhang Shui's face appeared a lot of sweat, but she is still practicing. Lin Qin did not disturb her enthusiasm. Yu reading book www.yuukangshu.net. After half an hour, the zombies downstairs were all resolved. Zhang Shui took a bow and arrow and stood on the balcony for a long time. Lin Qin noticed that he was not right and couldn't help asking, "What are you doing?" "No, there are someone at the door." Lin Qin got up and stood on the balcony down. The courtyard's big iron gate zombies were resolved. There's a little farther away. On the body of the zombie, the residual arrows are obviously not Lin Qin. On the zombie pile, a woman slapped his door in a wound. Not far behind her followed a few zombies. Zhang Shui watched this scene and immediately said, "This woman at the door." Before Zhang Shui's words finished, Lin Qin went downstairs. She was unknown, but also ran downstairs with Lin Qin's body. Opened the door of the iron. The woman at the door was paralyzed directly. Lin Qin quickly closed the door and looked at the woman on the ground. If the zombies are bitten, it is better to throw it out. "Are you caught by zombies?" Nanwei looked up and wanted to scold back, but too much bleeding, and he had no strength. "No, not a zombie. I met two men and saw the bow and arrows on my body, chasing me all the way." After hearing the words, Lin Qin was relieved. Not the best. He got up and washed Nanwei's blood stains, and he knew about it. Nanwei climbed up from the ground, looking around and saw the door standing beside Lin Qin, standing with a strange girl. "What about small fish?" "Who?" Lin Qin frowned. "That's the girl on the opposite side. Last time I asked her to come to you." "Dead. He was caught by the zombies, and it also turned into a zombie." Lin Qin didn't hurt or itchy. Nanwei was a little wrong, and then lost. So what? Let me go in. I want to deal with the wound on my body." Speaking, Nanwei walked in directly. "Come to the living room." Nanwei took off the backpack behind him and took out a bottle of alcohol and gauze from it. Dry the blood on the wound on the body. Then pour alcohol and wash. Forcing the pain, she took out the few iodine cotton balls and wiped it gently. Zhang Shui stood in the corner and looked at the two people who were familiar with. After all, she doesn't know. Outside the house, the zombies chased and continued to hit the big iron door. Nanwei was almost handled by the wound. Looking at Lin Qin, said, "Can you stay here for a while and wait for the rescue to come and leave? There are too many zombies outside, and they blame the helicopter early in the morning. This street is very troublesome, and you can't get friends. I guess I have to wait a day or two." Zhang Shui heard the words on the side and immediately took a step, a little anxious. "Why do you say that? Is the situation in it bad?" Nanwei glanced at her and then looked at Lin Qin, said, "Moreover, not just bad, the zombies over there piles. I saw a team who couldn't resist the attack of the zombies. The whole army was overwhelmed. Of course, don't think too badly. The rescuers must be more than a team of people. We just need to wait with peace of mind." Zhang Shui couldn't sit still. When she got up, she would return upstairs, and Lin Qin screamed directly, "What are you going to do?" "I called my brother and contacted him. If the situation is so bad, my brother will definitely be worse. A person who never cooks must have not eaten it long ago, just waiting for rescue. The rescue is postponed now. I am worried that he would have any accidents. Zhang Jian's location is a lush area in the city center. At most, they're the edge of a partition belonging to the suburbs. This is the case in the suburbs. Isn't it more difficult for the moderate, dangerous area of the central area? If you can't wait for the rescue, the two of them must not be able to gather in the temporary shelter." Zhang Shui couldn't help but start to be nervous. When Nanwei saw this, he was puzzled for a moment, and he could not help but say, "Little sister, don't worry too much. As long as your brother doesn't run out of the mess, it will definitely be fine." Lin Qin rubbed his head and had a headache. "Forget it. Go with her. Your brother's mobile phone should have the last point." Zhang Shui heard the words and turned directly to the building. Nanwei sat on the bench in front of the table and looked at Lin Qin. There are only two of them left in the living room. Lin Qin sat on the sofa and looked at her and said, "You have gone inside these days? Don't mention it. Obscure. When it comes to this Nanwei, he will not be angry. It's so good. How could she go inside? Not because she was going out a few days ago by the people who were chased by the poor. She had to disrupt the plan, and she had to encounter a zombie." Lin Qin slightly thought, "What is the situation inside? Talk about it." Speaking of which is exactly, Nanwei sat in a good body. To be honest, the situation may not be optimistic. We still think of this zombie too simple. The virus is lurking in the body, and everyone may be infected. And even if the country really comes to rescue, the difficulty is not a star. To be precise, as long as carbon-based creatures are afraid of guns and grenades, but they still can't hold them a lot in great strength. In recent zombies, I always feel that action is much faster than before. I don't know if you feel this. Nanwei looked at Lin Qin. His expression was very cautious. For example, today I always feel that the speed of the zombie is too fast compared to before. She rushed anxiously, but the zombies behind her followed closely, not pulling too far away. But for Lin Qin, this is a long-known thing. However, the time of zombie mutation seems to be early. He remembers that the news of zombie mutation was when the rescue was over and the airdrop supplies. Now, rescue is just the beginning. The idea of going back to his mind. Lin Qin said again, "Do you want to go to the base too?" Nanwei laughed lightly. Which one who is still alive does not want to go? After all, there are large troops, compatriots some people protect, and there are people who are going to be. Most importantly, there is food. You have to know that people are living animals. If you really want yourself to be alone in the end, then you have to have weapons and strength. You are alone, but those who wander outside can hold a group. Dozens of people will not be able to deal with it. Otherwise, those survivors wandering out will take you into the belly and eat your bones. Just think about it. It's a bit scared. There's nothing else, just go. Two people talked and started talking. Lin Qin was sitting on the sofa. At first, he was thinking about remote, and he was more comfortable to live in a big villa. Yu reading book www.yukangshu.net. He is not short of food, and he does not need to enter the shelter. But now this idea is a bit shaken. As Nanwei said, he has only one person. A shot of bang. There was a gunfire on the distant streets. Lin Qin speculated that the rescue personnel had a fight with the zombies. Occasionally, the explosion of the bomb can sound. Nan Wei had no response to this. Don't worry, it should be a rescue person. They intend to save people in batches. There are so many communities in the building, it is estimated that it is difficult. Lin Qin looked back and didn't. The three people waited in the room, and the gunshot of the center was still continuing. It's just a lot less than the daytime. It is still sounding from time to time. At dinner, everyone was hungry. Nan Wei even took out the food searched in his backpack and shared it. I can only have instant noodles here, don't you mind? Speaking, she sent the 3 packs of instant noodles in her hand. Nan Wei opened the packaging bag with a light car and stabbed it directly. Seeing this, Lin Qin said, "Wait a minute, eat something else." Nan Wei is unknown. After a while, I saw Lin Qin walking down with 4 boxes of self-heating hot pot. Zhang Shui got up directly and burned a pot of boiling water. Seeing this, it is difficult to maintain the surprise and sigh. Yes, there are such good goods. No right. Where do you come from? Haven't you burned the water? Lin Qin poured the hot water in and didn't raise his head. You won't just discover it, but the air conditioner has been blowing. Didn't you think it was cooler than the outside? After this reminder, Nan Wei noticed this situation. She couldn't speak in surprise and moved her lips to ask, but she swallowed again. Forget it, don't know this kind of thing. She gave her thumbs down at Lin Qin, and she said nothing. Heating small hot pot is fast. As the outside sky gradually darkened, Lin Qin turned on the light in the room. 3 people sat around the table, eating and eating. The aroma of hot pot is overflowing. But Nan Wei was satisfied. Just when the 3 were still talking cheerfully, the 3 guns suddenly came from outside the house. This gunfire is very close. Unlike the slight noise before, the 3 people looked at each other and then looked at the dark painting outside. Zhang Shui was sitting nervously next to Lin Qin, reaching out and holding his sleeves, and whispered, "This gun is so close. Will someone come over?" Nan Wei put down the chopsticks and frowned at Lin Qin. "It's really close. Listening to the sound is outside our villa area. With a gun, it means that this person nearby is dangerous. And for them, this is even greater. The taste of the hot pot is not small, and the lamp of the villa is still on. It is undoubtedly the most unique in all communities in the dark, especially the temptation of food. This makes them more vigilant." Someone smelled the taste and looked at the lights. Lin Qin didn't speak, but just opened the monitoring silently. There was nothing in the monitoring, and it should not be what happened in the villa area. As for the road around the villa, nor. In the monitoring screen, the zombies surrounded by the surrounding roads were farther away, and their own monitoring did not pass. He got up and soothing. "Don't worry, I'll go out and see." Nan Wei immediately got up. "Then I'll be with you." Zhang Shui stood up. "I'm with you too. The 2 of you still stay at home honestly, especially Nan Wei. The bloody smell of the wound on your body can cause zombie restlessness. Still stay and wait for me to come back. Xiao Shui, go to get a little clean water and gauze and let Nan Wei deal with the wound." After the explanation, Lin Qin opened the big iron door and looked out. At night, there was a dim villa area, but there were several solar crystal streetlights on the roadside. There's a trace of light. Lin Qin walked out. Watching the dark night outside, slowly walked into the darkness. The zombies in the villa have long been passively static to attract the gate, shaking the door constantly. But at this time, the villa was absolutely safe. After all, the zombies ran to the west gate. Lin Qin looked around, and there was no movement in the villa. Lin Qin walked to the Shiman and looked at the zombies gathered in front of the door from a distance, without action. There is a lamp at the intersection in the distance, which barely can see the situation on the street. But his position here is not very good. Except for the door, you can see a little street outside, all around the villas. Obstructing the specific situation on the street, nothing can be seen. Lin Qin looked down, but did not solve these zombies. Some zombies gathered at the door. At least people on the streets will not easily come in. But they have guns, and this zombie should not be a threat to them. However, Lin Qin can't control these. In case those people really come to themselves, Zombies will delay at least some time. At this moment, another gunfire came. The sound this time is more closely. It's like sweeping. Lin Qin gang planned to open his legs and find a place with a good vision. I saw that the zombies gathered in Shimin fell one by one. The dense guns hit the zombies across the door. After a while, Lin Qin saw a man with dark paint turned into the villa, falling heavily on the door. He staggered, couldn't care about the zombies chased behind him, and rushed to the darkness of the villa. Lin Qin watched a large number of zombies chasing his zombies outside, and it was roughly estimated that there had to be 20 or 30. The number of this is still the other side to solve the future quantity. There should be a lot of chasing him. But just a person, there is no threat. The posture of just escaping does not look normal. It should be injured. Seeing this situation, Lin Qin returned to the villa. The villa area is intricate, and it can only discredit progress without light. Lin Qin has a flashlight, and all the surrounding roads are very clear. It was safe along the way, and when I saw that I was going home, Lin Qin lived in his footsteps. Behind him, there seemed to be something to follow. Lin Qin turned back sharply, and the gun in his hand was about to hit, and he saw a small figure holding his head quickly, trying to twist his neck. Lin Qin's body responded to the brain, and he blocked the opponent's blow. Seeing that it could not be revealed, the other party rushed directly. Lin Qin didn't inspect and fell directly to the ground, and the two rolled directly into the grass next to him. Yu reading book www.uukangshu.net. But the other party responded very quickly. Before Lin Qin reacted, he immediately suppressed him on the ground and imprisoned. The movement of taking out the pistol was fast when he was aiming at Lin Qin's head. The flashlight rolled down in the grass. The bones shone to them, exuding a weak light. It's human, living people. His heart was Panasonic instantly, and he lifted Lin Qin's head to ensure that it was normal human. Then I rest assured that I was paralyzed on the side and exhausted my strength. Hurry up! The flashlight rolled to the grass beside the body, and the light was not too bright. But Lin Qin saw the other party clearly. Special police?